Our Connection Podcast Network listeners, welcome inside the Wrestling Warzone, a Monday Night Wars podcast series retrospective. I am JT, and joining me as ever is my partner Chad. Chad, how are you?
Doing good. Excited to dive into a new year here on the podcast.
Finally, I feel like it's been. Did we look it up exactly when we started 1996? It had to be like 2019, right?
Oh
At
yeah,
least.
no, yeah, probably even before then. Probably 2019.
Yeah, all right. So probably about 4-ish years we were in 1996. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole presidential term, really, that we spent 96, and now we'll kick off 1997 tonight. Really excited to do that with you all. Hopefully you enjoyed Starrcade. Hopefully you enjoyed the 1996 year in review and the fallout. And now, again, we're going to pick up what I proclaim to be my favorite year of the Monday Night Wars, and we'll see if that holds up, because I think
Yep.
both Nitro and Raw get to be super fun very soon. So we'll dive into all that here. Chad, what's going on personally? Anything we want to cover here?
Yeah, just got back. We've had a lot of Disney discussion on this podcast. Oddly enough, just got back from my first solo trip. Very quick romp down there. Became an annual pass holder about a month ago, so that provided the opportunity. So I went Friday. I worked 4 10s last week, so I was able to go down Friday, come back Sunday. And interesting trip. Had a lot of fun. A little bit of an adventure. So Friday and Saturday was pretty normal. Saturday though, I showed you I ended up at 27,000 steps, which was a lot. So I made the mistake of you've rode the Remy ride at Epcot, right?
Yeah.
Like it's pretty cool. It's just in the wrong. I mean, it takes forever to get over there.
Mm-hmm. It always seems like the World Showcase in your mind feels a lot shorter than it is. Like there's a
Yep.
lot of times where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna leave you here, like in Mexico, and run to Germany and like
Yep.
grab something. And I'll meet you back over here, and like an hour goes by by the time you
Yeah.
accomplish that.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a haul. Like I remember when I ordered, I wanted to get my brat that I always get in my grapefruit beer. And I didn't realize like that place closed at 8 or whatever. We were getting off Soren, and I ordered them on the app to pick up at 8. And I've never moved faster at Disney. I don't think that I did running. I mean, and that was a friggin' haul to get from Soren to Germany. Like
Yep.
that's a trek.
So like I did Magic Kingdom hard that morning. Park hopped over to Epcot, did the same mistake. I was like, oh, I'll just, I'll go around World Showcase, eat some of the flower and garden stuff, whatever. Do Remy because I got Genie Plus this day, so I had a lightning lane for Remy. Did that. My plan actually was to go back to Magic Kingdom like later that night and do like Big Thunder and Peter Pan and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. After Remy, I was cooked. It was like 8 o'clock. I was done, man. So I walked and but I'd parked at Magic Kingdom at the
Oh boy.
TTC, the Ticket and Transportation Center. So then, after Remy, I had to get all the way back to the front of the park to the monorail, take the monorail to Magic Kingdom to TTC, and then they're running the trams, but they're only stopping at 2 spots.
Could you have taken the Skyliner, or was that closed at that point?
Skyliner goes only to Hollywood Studios.
Oh. Because I was saying, I
So
was trying to think of like, because what I've done before in the back of the is go out the back of the park, and if you go to Boardwalk, you can
yeah,
catch an Uber from there. So that could have been an option for you. Might have been
could
a
have
little
done
less
that.
walking.
I was I was thinking like I might could have done a Skyliner and then actually could have taken like a bus
Right.
to Magic Kingdom, but then I had to walk from the bus stop to Monorail. I don't know. It was anything sucked. Regardless, I get home, I get to the hotel room. I have huge blisters on my foot, right? Like it's nasty. So I'm in pain and some like calf soreness. So I had to wake up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I was like a 90-year-old grandfather. I literally thought I was gonna fall when I stood up. So Sunday, because that was also the first time I rode Guardians of the Galaxy, which I
Hmm.
loved it. Like an amazing, amazing, amazing ride. And that was what I did right before Remy. So I think I
Yeah, that's
blamed
a
it.
haul.
I was
Yeah.
like I was on the high too, though. Like
Right. Right.
this adrenaline spike, this like second wind. And I was like, all right, I'll just go to Remy, I'll grab me a drink over on the way over, whatever snack. Yeah, huge mistake. So Sunday, I did want to ride Guardians again. So I go to Epcot. Everything's working out good. I go on Soarin' first because it was a walk on. I leave my hat in the underneath bin thing. Luckily, I did Living with the Land right after Soarin'. I was able to walk right over and get my hat. Then I do test track, single rider test track, able to go right through. I go through the line again for single rider test track. I reach in my pocket. I realize I don't have my car keys. I lost them somewhere. So I asked them at test track.
This is like Criscolo esque.
This was definitely a Criscolo moment where I ask them at test track. They pull out the bid. There's like
30,000 pairs of keys
and all sorts of stuff, but no keys. So then I have to create a lost and found ticket. So I do that. I go to guest relations. And it was just a disaster the rest of that day because they were like, well, anything real valuable like jewelry, keys, etc., we will take it here.
Right.
Like it won't be at the ride. They'll bring it to the rides. So when I went to guest relations, he was like, well, we haven't got it from a ride yet. And I was like, well, I was just a test track and they said they didn't have it. I've only done Soaring and that. So maybe it fell off at Soaring. So I walk back over to Soaring. This is like 1:00. I walk back over to Soaring and say, like, do you have a keys? They say, oh, somebody just left to take the bin of stuff to guest relations. So we probably crossed each other in the park. I go back to guest relations. Nope, no dice. They actually they punked me. They said, "Oh, well, you did get a pair of keys coming in." It comes back. It's like, I mean, I'm don't want to be presumptuous, but it was like a pink.
Right.
It was very. It's
That
a
could have
very
been your wife's keys you were carrying around, or a
okay.
girlfriend, or
It
something.
was my keys though. Whatever. So then, but then the thought got in my head. I said, "Well, I know I for sure didn't have them at test track, but there's a possibility I locked these things in the car, all right? And the key fob
Did you
just
check on top of the car?
that's what I actually did. I was like, because I had to put my drink and stuff, I was getting ready for the day. I was like, did I just put them on top of the car? Whatever. So I walked to the parking lot. No, they're not there. So now it's like 1:30. My feet are killing me. I don't want to walk. So what do I do though? Because they're like, well, we'll hang around and whatever. And I basically told them, I was like, well, like I can hang out till 4, but if at 4:00 we're gonna have to figure something out. Whether
Right.
like somebody's gonna have to make a key. Something's gonna have to give because I got to get home tonight. Uh, my youngest son graduated kindergarten yesterday, which was Monday. So I didn't want to do nothing but stay in that park, and I didn't want to like rewrite Spaceship Earth or whatever. So I was like, well, I'll just ride the monorail and park hop over to Magic Kingdom and ride the train because that's right there, right as you go in, not much walking, right? So that works out good. I ride the monorail over, get on the train. I'm in between Main Street USA station and the Frontierland station. I get an email that says, "We believe your keys have been found."
It's like when you have to come identify someone at the morgue. The way they phrase, we believe we may have the
That's what
body.
they said. They said they literally said like, "We may have found your item." I was like, okay. It'd been nice if they could like. I
Send
mean,
a picture.
I don't know. Yeah, a picture or something. It was
Right. They
like,
could
all
have
right.
attached a picture. Yeah.
It's like y'all have already said you found one pair of keys and it was not them. So my trip to the Magic Kingdom literally involved me riding the train one loop around and then getting out. I was at the Magic Kingdom for 25 minutes and I rode the train. I hop right back on the monorail, go back to Epcot to guest relations. They are my keys. Drive should have been 7 hours straight home. I had traffic, so it ended up being about 8.5 hours. Finally got home about 11:30 that night.
That's
But
a haul. That's a long day.
It was an adventurous day. I actually felt pretty good though afterwards. Like I don't know, like driving distances isn't that bad now. Like you have so much stuff. Like I have books on tape, I have podcasts, I have music. There's so much. Like it feels like there's so much more involved than what used to that could keep you occupied. So
Yeah,
and plus
to me, it's the
it was
traffic that'll
almost
get me. But if you can go
the
kind of clean
traffic was
through, it's
rough.
okay.
I mean, Orlando, like, come on, like this Interstate 4 traffic, this construction they've done for 5 years, there's nothing to show for it. I don't know what's going on there.
It's like Boston.
Yeah.
Shit show.
But it was fun. I ended up doing like 20,000 steps that Sunday, just going like back and forth. I didn't leave like Future World of Epcot and getting to the train station at Magic Kingdom. So I didn't feel like I went anywhere. I just kept zigzagging
going back and forth.
Yeah.
But. That's a lot of walking. So that's good. You get some exercise anyway. I got to move around.
And it was
could have been worse.
It was brutally hot too. So I was downing. I've not had a regular coat since January. And I broke down. It was a bad breakdown where I
earned it. You burned more than that. You earned it.
It was bad.
It was worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a haul. Well, I'm glad you made it back in one piece.
Back in one piece.
Would have been tough to lose you before we start 97. Would have came this far. Dies in Disney.
Dies in Disney.
Yeah. So, I mean, my story's not as intense as that, I guess. But we had a little birthday gathering for one of the girls on my daughter's softball team after their first night of the tournament last weekend. It was just like at a bar or whatever. So it was at a restaurant that has like a side that's a bar. So they put us over there because we had it's probably 25 people when you like families and kids and everything. And it's all open, long tables. So we ordered like pizzas or whatever. And then they have a bar, they have a pool table. And apparently they do live music. So as we're sitting there, it's probably like 6:30, 7 o'clock. They're setting up like a microphone stand, speaker. So you're okay, like cool, maybe some live music comes in. In comes this guy, like you would think he's a ZZ Top cover band guy. He's got the big beard, he's got the glasses, the hat, like the leather jacket, right? So you're thinking, all right, this guy's coming to rock. He wheels in a fucking piano.
Yeah.
Like a standing piano into the bar, like
nice.
Straight out of the Haunted Mansion piano, like that kind.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And just like wheels it, he sets it up. They're set up for like it had to be 45 minutes. They're up there setting up. So it ends up being a female singer, piano man, and then a young guy with a guitar. And now like all the kids are kind of getting done. We had to get up early for the next day of the tournament. And I'm like, we're dying to find out I'm like, I need to know the opening song of this friggin' act, what it's going to be. So they start to fire up. We're like, oh, finally they're going to play. It was like 8:10 or whatever. And it ends up being the sound check. And he's kind of messing around. He's doing some Who or whatever on there. So I think he was doing Bob O'Reilly. So he's playing that. And we're like, but he's not really playing it. He's just kind of, so I'm like, I don't count that as the first song. That's a sound check song. He's like, oh, we're going to be starting around 8:30. And now it's like 8:12. We're like, these kids aren't going to last another 20 minutes. So everyone left. We'll never know what this opening song was. It's going to drive me fucking insane. My prediction was something Skinnerd because it seemed like maybe Sweet Home Alabama with the piano because the way he looked, the look, or maybe Freebird. I was thinking a little bit. But I don't know what else. I'm not like I was kind of trying to. The Who, I guess, makes sense. Maybe it was gonna be Bob O'Reilly would be the opener.
You don't think like Elton John?
No, they didn't. No, because they had the woman singing and the guy on the guitar. So like,
What about Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah, that's what one of the other guys there said. They were thinking Fleetwood Mac was his prediction.
I got to
be what it was, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I got to find a set list for this band.
I say you should have looked him up, and
I'll say I think I'll have to look up the restaurant, see if they were advertising who they were.
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway, like I said, not as not as hot of a story, but it made me laugh thinking of the guy wheeling in because it was pouring. It was torrential that night, and I'm like, this guy must pull around a trailer, right? And like probably an enclosed trailer.
I'd be interested in looking at the transportation
It was a
situation.
good sized piano. Like it wasn't like why did it use a fucking keyboard? Like it's not like it's I mean it's just like a restaurant with a little bar on the
Yeah, I
side.
mean,
It's not like it's a big gig, you know what I
crucial
mean?
note, right.
Like he probably could have played the same stuff on the keyboard and
Yeah,
saved himself
a
some trouble.
little Casio or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean he was rolling in that baby grand coming through the bar. Damn, man. Saturday night, fucking bopping at the old theater diner.
Nice.
Anyway, all right. Well, we haven't caught up in a while, so hopefully everyone enjoyed that. Why don't we go ahead and dive into the action? Like we said, we're starting off 1997. Any Meltzer notes you want to hit before we get into it?
God, this is a juicy Meltzer because it's the year-end award issue.
I feel like we haven't had a good Meltzer in a while.
Yeah, this one's a big one. So we'll just go over the big categories. Wrestler of the year, which involves box office and work rate, everything. Number 1, Kenta Kobashi. Number 2, Shawn Michaels. Number 3, Misawa. 4, Manami Toyota. 5, Rey Mysterio Jr.
You surprised Shawn?
Not for that one. Most outstanding wrestler. I think this one kind of makes sense. So you have Rey Mysterio wins it.
Mm-hmm.
Manami Toyota 2, Kenta Kobashi 3, Chris Benoit 4, Shinjiro Otani 5, Shawn Michaels 6, Misawa 7, which that kind of hurt me a little bit. Michaels ahead of Misawa. Dean Malenko 8, Ultimo Dragon.
Was big PWI win the next
year.
Yes,
it was actually. I thought of that. Ultimo Dragon 9 and Toshiaki Kawada number 10. So no huge problems there. This one I found a little surprising. Best babyface. So this is worldwide, but it's probably going to skew U.S. Shawn Michaels ran away with it.
No.
He had 205 first place votes for 1,400 points. Bret Hart's number 2 with 87 first place votes and 827 points. So
that Shawn run was held in way more regard in the moment. Like I think aging, as we've seen, some of it doesn't hold up, but I think in the moment, like it was like, oh wow, this is like a WWF pushing a smaller athletic guy that's kind of being presented as a pure babyface that's having these great pay-per-view matches, and he had a whole year. Like I think that's kind of how they looked at it at the time. So it really, I think in the moment held up. It doesn't hold up now, but in the moment, like that run was held up as legendary.
There's Sandman's 5th, Undertaker's 4th. There's nobody from WCW in the top 10. Sting is 12th.
And then you missed that chunk, and
you got Ric Flair.
Hogan's gonna be. Is Hogan even on there?
No. Randy Savage. No Luger either. Best heel. What's your prediction for that?
Is it North America again?
Yeah, I mean, so with these, like, promos carry a big part. So more than likely,
is it Hogan?
Austin.
Oh,
157
nice.
first
Okay,
place.
I like it.
1186. Chono's number 2. Shane Douglas number 3. Hogan number 4. Taz number 5. Mankind 6. 7 Kevin Nash. 8 Yoji Anjo. 9 Raven and 10 Ric Flair. Honorable mention Brian Pillman and Scott Hall.
That's a strong year for heels.
Yeah, big year for heels. Yep. Let's see. Feud of the year. Some great candidates here too. Number 1 was WCW versus NWO. Number 2, Taker versus Mankind. Number 3, no, I'm interested that coming up on that, but you'll be interested in that. 3's New Japan versus UWFI. 4's Raven versus Sandman. So again, like ECW places pretty well.
Well, you got to figure that's their fan base. It is very hardcore. They're dialed into the Observer probably more so than most of the other fan bases. So you would think that they're probably pushing it.
I'd say yes and no though. Like It's almost like how Game Changer is now.
Right.
Game Changer is not taught now weekly on the Observer.
Yeah, but
Dave.
everyone's on the net. Like back then, you get like the pool was smaller
Yeah,
of
but
internet
you
fans,
read
and
these
ECW was like
observers, and there's not a lot of. Dave's talking about the first pay per view, but it
well, no,
seems
he's
like
not, but these are reader votes, right? I'm
yes,
saying the
but
readership is likely skewing more likely to read the Observer.
I think they were very tastemaker-ish though towards. I think there's a greater gateway towards Japan and Mexico than ECW from observer readerships though. I think like message boards like RSPW and stuff like that were better like gateways for, but maybe they're doing good. Savage versus Flair's 5, Santo versus Negro Casas is 6, Mysterio versus Malenko 7, Tommy Dreamer versus Brian Lee is number 8, Sabu versus Rob Van Dam 9, Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Psychosis is 10, uh, Steve Austin, Bret Hart, not even an honorable mention. They have 16 listed, not
Yeah,
not
I
even.
mean, so when does he start taking votes for these? Is it a little bit earlier in the year? Like it's not.
Yeah, it actually it runs. I think it runs like December 1st through November 30th.
Yeah, so Hart Austin. I mean, really, it was only like I
You've
mean,
had 2
2
to
months
3 months.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I could see it not yet being to that level. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be finishing very high, 97, I would assume.
Yeah.
But
Tag team of the year, a bunch of Japanese teams or Japanese centric teams. The Eliminators are number 2.
yeah, I mean, they had a great year in '96. So I would
Uh,
say that's definitely there.
Crawford and Furnace are number 5. Harlem Heat is the first WCW tag team at number 8.
Hmm.
And Owen Hart and Davey sneak in at number 10, which is a little odd because they hadn't really teamed
They
up.
only had 2 months, really. Well,
Uh,
they did a lot of Camp Cornette teaming, like 6 mans and stuff. So I guess in a way they were kind of teaming. I think WCW's tag division, we've kind of talked about it. Like to me, it was like no standout teams, and all year was more like the sum, or the whole, whatever the fuck that saying is. The sum is better than the parts, whatever.
yeah.
Um, like all of them working together weekly made for an exciting division, but I didn't think any team was like standout in that division. So I think it makes sense that they didn't rate highly because they were all just kind of very good, and we're really good on TV every week because we get to see a mix of them.
Think we'll have some problems with some of the people on most improved. Top 4, I'm fine with. DDP wins
Yeah,
in a landslide. He gets more than double. Number 2, which is
he's going to be up
Taka
there next year too, I would
Michinoku.
think.
Jun Akiyama's number 3. Steve Austin's number 4. Number 5, Mark Marrow.
Oh
Most
God.
improved.
I would say
Which is
most disimproved. he
yes.
was he was better in WCW
Yeah.
'95 by far.
Actually, for what the Observer is on most overrated, he should be that because it's also based on your push. And
Yeah,
yeah,
like '95, he had the DDP stuff was pretty good. He had the Pillman match. Like, there's way more in '95 that I like that he
yeah,
did than '96.
yeah. Yuji Nagata 6, Rob Van Dam 7, Marcus Bagwell 8, Halloween 9, Otani 10. Honorable mention: Hunter Hearst Hemsley sneaks in at the very bottom there. Most unimproved: Hulk Hogan, number 1.
How can you say
Vader.
that though? He improved throughout the year,
I
big time.
know.
If
I know.
anything, that might be the biggest improvement is what
I
he did
know.
from April to July.
This is what we talked about a little
Yeah,
bit in the year end that like you really see definitely how like work rate driven stuff was back then. Like it
right.
was insane.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
Hogan's 1, Vader's 2, Savage is 3, Sid's 4, Luger is 5, most unimproved, which is crazy. Scott Hall's 6, Flair's 7, Barry
Yeah, that list is
Windham.
ridiculous.
Barry Windham's 8,
Yeah,
Stan
well,
Hansen's
that was
9,
okay.
Kevin Nash's 10.
It's a stupid category though, because it's like, are you really expecting Barry Windham to fucking improve in improve in
Right,
1996? Like, what's he?
right.
I don't know. Yeah, to me that's like maybe just put like worst or something. Like I don't know.
Mhm.
It just feels like anyway.
All right, best on interviews. Let me get your guess who you think won that.
Austin.
Yep. Austin won. Give me a guess for number 2.
It's
And think
U.S.
about who?
It's in the U.S.
Yeah, this is all U.S.
All right. I mean, I feel like it should be Hogan, but it's probably not. The way you said it makes me think it's someone that you wouldn't think. I mean, I think Flair could be up there. Is Flair?
Okay, Flair's number 3. Number
Shawn?
2 is Shane Douglas.
Oh, all right. I think that's fitting. I mean, he was really good in 96. He's been
Yeah.
good in 96, 97, honestly, and
Yep.
98.
4 is Arn Anderson. 5 is Bret Hart. 6 is Mankind. 7 Stevie Richards. 8 is one. I mean, I kind of disagree with Stevie. 8's one I disagree with. Jim Cornette. 9's Kevin Nash. 10's Roddy Piper. Honorable mention. Shawn. This again shows like Shawn Michaels is the first honorable mention at 166 points. Hulk Hogan's right behind him at 128 points. I mean, to me, in no world,
right, is Shawn a bit better than Hogan?
I mean, he's just not. Brian Pillman's after both of them, and you can make a case he's in the. So it's just all over. Most charismatic, Shawn Michaels runs away with it. Flair's up there, no surprise there. Best technical wrestler, Malenko Benoit 1 and 2, Regal 4. So no big surprise there. Bruiser Brody, of course, Mankind. Tommy Dreamer, number 2. Gangsters, number 3. Sandman, number 4. Terry Funk, number 5. Raven, number 6.
All ECW.
Wayne Kanemaru, number 7. Dave Finlay, 8. Sabu, 9. Aja Kong, 10. Tank Abbott's your first honorable mention. Yeah, best flying wrestler, Rey Mysterio won that one. Going away with it. Let's see. Most overrated, of course, Hogan.
Hulk Hogan, yeah.
Number 1. Number 2, Psycho Sid. Number 3, Lex Luger. 4, Randy Savage. 5, Shawn Michaels. 6, Ultimate Warrior. 7, Ahmed Johnson. 8, Kevin Nash. 9, Sabu. 10, Undertaker.
That's like the hit list of the Scott Keith blog.
Yeah.
For the next 4 years, pretty much.
Oh, God. Most underrated. I never in a million years would have guessed this guy would have won it. Leaf Cassidy.
Indy Darling.
Points. Yeah. Oh, Chris Candido, number 2. Psychosis 3. Hoovy 4. Jericho 5. Regal 6. Eddie 7. That's good. This is pretty interesting. Best promotion. 1's New Japan, 2's All Japan, 3 is ECW.
I was gonna say ECW, yeah. I'm telling you, that fan base was dialed in. Maybe it was just the awards. Maybe they friggin' I don't know. Maybe Rocco could weigh in on this. It wouldn't shock me if ECW did a campaign that like pushed people to vote for this stuff or whatever. I mean, wasn't Shane was like a Meltzer guy too, wasn't he? Man, that's why he keeps popping up on all this stuff. Wasn't he like a? I mean, we know Pillman was, but
right.
Heyman was too.
I mean, so in this best promotion, ECW got 141 first place votes. WCW is number 4. It got 42. So over 100 more first.
Well, I mean, I think ECW was more consistent throughout the year, I would say, for 96. Like WCW's, we talked about it, the beginning quadrant was rough. And if this doesn't count the last couple months or a month and a half, I mean, WCW should be number 1, but like I can see, like I don't think it's like that crazy. I mean, ECW 96 is pretty good start to finish.
Yeah. 5's Michinoku Pro, 6 WWF. Best weekly television show, Extreme Championship Wrestling. Run away with it. Well, actually didn't run away with it. Ran away with it in North America. Only beat New Japan's Pro Wrestling by 2 points. Which is kind of weird. All Japan 3, Nitro's 4, Raw's 5. There's not as big a gap between those two as I would think. Like Nitro had 934 points, Raw had 620 points.
Yeah, I mean, Raw shouldn't even been in contention.
Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. It's just crazy. Match of the year. This is, I think, one of the honestly like probably weaker matches. It's still, I mean, it's a really great match, but it's not the match of the year. It's Masawa and Akiyama versus Steve Williams and Johnny Ace from June 7th.
Hey!
And number 2 is actually Ray versus Hoovy from ECW, March the 9th.
I mean, it was really good, but that's second match of the year.
Yeah, that
It's
one.
over like Shawn and Mankind.
Number 5, the Iron Man match. Number 6 is Ray versus Psychosis, Batch at the Beach. Number 7's Bret versus Austin from Survivor Series. Number 8's Good Friends, Better Enemies main event. And then Shawn Michaels versus Mankind from Mind Games is the first honorable mention. Number 11.
That's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Only because when you think it's ahead of it. Like, I know Ray Psychosis, or was it Ray? It was Ray Hoovy.
Ray Psychosis.
Yeah. What was the ECW one?
Oh, Ray versus Hoovy. Yep.
Like, I know that was like, it was pretty, whatever. At
Yeah.
the time, it was unique and stood out, so I get it. But I didn't think I thought it was really good, but I didn't think any of that stuff held up as like all-time classics. Rewatching it.
Yeah, this is one of these weird years where looking at this, well, the big Michinoku Pro tag from 1010 these days is number 3. I mean, there's like, I don't think any of the matches are bad in the top 10, but the timeline's a little weird too, because I mean, the best match of 1996 happens on December 6th. It's All Japan World Tag League Final. It's probably one of the 10 best matches of all time, but outside
but it didn't make the cutoff.
Yeah, it didn't make the cutoff. Rookie of the Year, Giant, obviously.
Yeah, easy.
Rock's number 3.
Not bad for it. I mean, was he around for a month? Not even. I mean,
yeah, well, I guess they're including Flex Cabana too. Mongo baby, number 9.
Yeah.
Let's get down. Manager of the Year, Jim Cornette, Sonny, Miss Janet, Bill Alfonso, Francine, Scott Bowden, Woman.
Cornette was number 1.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah,
I would have had Fonzie above him, honestly.
Best television announcer. I bet you can guess who won this one.
Joey Styles.
That's correct. Joey Styles. You want to give a guess for number 2?
Tenay?
Nope. He's number 3. Number 2, Jim Ross. Not even close.
No. But it's all the Meltzer guys. Like,
yeah. I mean, this WCW really is getting screwed. Number 6 is Vince. And number 7 is Tony Schiavone. I mean, again, in what
Tony
world,
should be number 1. I mean, Tony should be number 1.
Easy. World is Vince better than Tony?
No, Tony should be 1. And I mean, for this year, I'd probably put Styles 2. Like, I think that's fine. Like, he's, you know, that'd be my top 2. And then if you want to put Tenay 3, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a WWF guy in the top. Whatever. Like, I'd put Larry, I think, above of like JR. I think easily. Yeah. Vince would probably be my top WWF guy.
I would say 5.
Yeah, I'd say Vince would be my top WWF guy for 96. I'd put him above Ross.
What about KK? He's number 8.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, he doesn't do a lot. He only does a little bit of Raw.
Right. A worst television announcer. You want to give a guess?
Gorilla Monsoon. Didn't he win every year? King. It's got to be King.
Nope.
Bobby?
Not even in the top 10.
King's not top 10?
Nope.
Well, he was all right in 96, I guess.
He wasn't that good.
Yeah, but I guess he wasn't.
Bobby's number 6. Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, fuck that. Right. Let's wrap this up.
Landslide. Eric Bischoff, number 2. Lee Marshall, number 3. Vince, number 4. Corey Macklin, number 5. Bobby, 6. Lord Al, 7.
Is he even around anymore? Lord Al? What's he doing? International Challenge? I mean, what the hell? What was he even commentating?
He got 18 first place votes. Shivani's number 8. Mr. Perfect, number 9. Todd Pettengill, number 10.
Oh, poor Todd.
Best major card, Great American Bash was number 2. WrestleMania 12 was the top WWF show at number 7. It's Bash at the Beach is number 8, which again is just
ridiculous.
Worst major card, Uncensored Slamboree, no problem really there. I'm shocked. Number 3 is World War III.
Yeah, I mean, we like that.
Oh yeah. And number 4 is Hog Wild. Like both of those shows are good.
The only thing you could say is Hog Wild is if you were really down on the crowd.
And Halloween Havoc's number 8. Super Brawl, which was bad's number 9. But
Those should be top 3. Super Brawl, Uncensored, and Slamboree.
well, I'd probably put Beware of Dog.
And Beware Dog, yeah.
Oh no, never mind. I saw In Your House 4, but it's 428. I was like, wait a minute, that should definitely be number 1. But that was great. Wrestling maneuver. Who cares? Most disgusting promotional tactic. WWF tease and usage of Razor Ramon and Diesel. New Razor Ramon and Diesel.
I can't believe that Pillman and the Gun didn't win.
That's number 3. Number
right,
2 is WCW Gene Oakland 900 line teases and lies.
I can see that.
Number 4 is WCW usage of racist characters like Sonny Ono.
They don't have what's it called? Raven and
number
Sandman?
5, ECW Crucifixion.
Yeah, all right. I was gonna say.
Number 6,
Tyler Fullington, or is that 97?
Number 6, Jose Lothario Heart Attack.
Yeah.
Number 7, Tyler Fullington. Number 8, Billionaire Ted. Remember that? Number 9, Michael's Dieta Ankle. And number 10,
that's some good choices.
Number 10 was WCW Advertising Pillman and Uncensored. Best color commentary.
Is that like a single occurrence or the commentary? Like
just best color commentator
today.
Yeah. Nope. Jerry the King Lawler. Mike Tenay number 2. Larry Sabisco number 3.
Oh yeah, say Larry's gonna be up there.
Reader's personal favorite wrestlers. What the hell does that mean? Least favorite wrestler, Hogan and Duggan are 1 and 2. Worst wrestler, Loch Ness 1, Hogan 2, Duggan 3, Sid 4.
Loch Ness only had like 1 match.
Booty Mance.
Oh jeez, the whole friggin' March of '96 WCW.
All right. Worst tag team, Godwin's, Nasty Boys, Public Enemy, Slater, and Mike Enos, Gangsters.
That's unfair to Rough and Ready.
God, he had so many freaking awards back in. Worst manager, Sonny Ono, Colonel Rob Parker, Jose Lothario, Cloudy's number 4.
Poor Cloudy was there for like a month.
Two appearances. Elizabeth number 5, Teddy Long, Sable, Zebekiah.
Teddy Long should probably be number 1.
Bill Alfonso and Damian Kane. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Godfather.
Yeah.
He sucks.
Worst match of the year is obviously the uncensored main event. No surprise there. Hogan versus Savage from Havoc's number 2. Goldust versus Warrior is 3. Hogan versus Giant from Road Wild is 4.
Hogan Giant at Super Bowl is way worse than Road Wild.
Yeah, for sure. Cornette versus Lothario from Mind Games.
Come on, it was like a 3-minute. Oh. I hate the fucking smart fans of the 90s.
Warrior versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley from
Come on, Jesus.
Worst. Okay, this is crazy. Worst feud of the year. Number 1 is Bubba versus John Tenta. Okay,
told you.
All right. Number 2, WCW versus NWO.
What do people want?
How is that the worst feud of the year?
Maybe because it's like friggin' Hogan and everyone hates Hogan.
Oh my God. Hogan versus Savage, number 3, which we like that feud. Mm-hmm. Duggan versus VK Wall Street. That's a good choice. New Japan versus UWFI. Another great feud at 5. Smoking Guns versus Goblins. Yes, thank you. Number 6. Ice Train versus Scott Norton. Number 7.
That's a fucking war.
Devon Dudley versus the Dudleys. Number 8. Lawler versus Roberts. Probably not a bad choice. Rounding out the top 10. Worst on interviews. Ahmed Johnson, Hulk Hogan, Sid, Savage.
I mean, I don't agree with Hogan. I can see Ahmed.
Jim Duggan, Lex Luger, and Sonny Ono rounding that out.
Speak English, damn it.
Worst promotion, you got American Wrestling Federation, USWA 1-2. Number 3, WCW. Number 4, WWF. Just crazy. Best Booker, of course, Heyman won that fairly easily. Promoter of the year, Eric Bischoff did beat Vince in that and beat Heyman. Go. Best gimmick, NWO number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin number 2, BWO number 3, Mankind number 4, Macho Warrior Rick Hogan number 5. What the hell does that even mean?
Wasn't that was that an indie guy or like a ECW thing? I
Oh,
forget.
maybe. Worst gimmick, Nude Razor Diesel and Double J. Braun the Leprechaun, Stalker, Glacier, Booty,
Nacho Man's not on there?
Zero, Dudley's, NWO, TL Hopper, and Sonny Ono. So, I mean, in that poo-poo of gimmicks, you got the NWO at number 8. So sad. Most embarrassing wrestler. Like, what is this? What is this garbage? All right, that's it. But that was fun to at least go down memory lane there.
That's quite the mix.
Some rough picks overall, but yeah.
All right. Well, anything else? Anything
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's actually so that takes up a ton, obviously, of the thing. I did look and I was surprised, but I guess it bears out in the ratings. But he gives like a rundown of all the major shows, and then he shows like the thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down for all the categories. And WWF had like 10 thumbs up shows, and WCW only had 4.
That's crazy.
Like it's really crazy to think about it, because when you look at our ratings, like our month end stuff, I think WCW wanted like how many months?
No, almost all of them.
8 or 9, probably 8. I would say.
So that's not counting TV. That's just pay per view.
Yeah, just the pay per views, like the major shows, But I mean, it's stuff like even the months. Well, I mean, like even the months like obviously World War III, like we're at least thumbs in the middle, probably closer to thumbs up, and they were thumbs down. Like it's just a weird. I mean, that's one thing we're revisionists. Howling Havoc's the same way. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I just want to say really quick, because I didn't mention off the top, if you're listening on any podcatcher app, welcome in. We're also available via video on YouTube. If you're new here, just go to North South Connection on YouTube. If you're watching, just subscribe and leave us some comments. That helps us definitely get noticed. A lot of great video content that you don't get in the audio format. And we also have some audio stuff that you don't get in video. So just subscribe to everything and you can catch everything. A lot of evergreen content, so you're never too far behind. But we also do have some timely stuff as well. So check all that out. And this drops at you every other Monday. Right here, we talked a lot of ECW. That's a podcast we have every other Thursday as well. Extreme Three-Way Dance, going through the history of ECW. We're into 1998 now, in the summer of '98, pretty much. All right, so why don't we go dive in to the first episode of Monday Night Raw in 1997, taking place on January 6th. I believe this is the same taping, right, Chad?
Yeah.
Is it Albany or whatever?
Knickerbocker Arena.
Yeah. All right. Vader issues a promo warning backstage, and then we get Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler, our best commentator of 1996, setting up the night ahead. Includes clips of Shotgun's debut, and then we get our opening animation. Brings us to the ring for a very cool opening matchup, and that is Owen Hart taking on Mankind. So that'll be our first match in 97. He's out with Clarence Mason as Owen. Mankind wobbles out with Paul Bearer. Vince says this is sort of a tough man contest. So still kind of doing the tough man gimmick, but I guess he doesn't see Owen as a tough guy. Vince says we're getting an apology from Psycho Sid tonight due to his actions against Jose Lothario. Owen then takes Mankind down, goes to a sharpshooter. Mankind gets to the ropes. King says Mankind might be wearing Michael Jordan's cologne. Mankind hammers away as Vince and King get hyped for the tough man rules. Mankind runs to his usual offense as Vince has the speculation of a rift between Owen Hart and the Bulldog. Owen lands some elbows and works the arm. Mankind goes to a rear naked choke. That was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But Owen's able to block the mandible claw. He breaks free. He bites Mankind's fingers. We spill outside where Owen blocks a chair shot. He drops Mankind on the railing. He hits him with the tag title. Back inside, Owen gets a spin wheel kick. Vince is hyping the Rumble. Owen pegs Mankind with the enziguri. Owen follows outside to Mankind, but he yanks him into the railing and smashes him in the head with a drink tub to a faint ECW chant. After a break and an ad for Full Metal, Mankind gets a swinging neck breaker. Lawler references Deion Sanders' performance from yesterday's Cowboys game. Owen then takes over the DDT, but Mankind counters on a leap off the top with a claw. Owen slips out, hits a heel kick, but whiffs on a charge. He bangs it to the post, and Mankind crushes him with a nasty pile driver to win the match, which I liked. It was different. It was fresh. They had a good brawl. It was a great finish. It was hard fought. It was clean. in the clean sense that it was no real screw ups or anything. They also worked really well to have the random pairings with looser rules. So I kind of liked it. I like seeing Owen mix it up. We've been down on Owen a lot here in 1996, but as 97 Dawns, I think he's got a pretty good match already on the resume. So I went 3 stars. I like this as an opener, and I think I dig the tough man stuff, and they really let these guys open it up.
I'm 3 stars as well. I like this match a good bit. It's a pairing that, because of what Foley wrote in his book about Owen, you don't like, he has a fondness for Owen, but like the way he wrote in his book about Owen, like basically clowning around or whatever on house show matches. I didn't know, and I knew they had some tag stuff. Obviously, like probably the most famous ones at WrestleMania 13.
Right.
But I didn't know whether they'd wrestled any singles, and they hadn't up to this point. And then really the only other TV match they have together that I saw on Cage Match was like a Shotgun Saturday Night match, which is also very random. But I thought this was a fun pairing, and I like that Owen mixed it up. Don't typically think of him as like a brawler, but his punches look good here. And the action spilled to the outside. I thought Foley, Mankind did a good job of controlling the action, keeping things moving. Also thought this was one of the rare occurrences on the WWF side of things where I thought the commercial break happened at a good spot. It didn't feel like we lost a lot when we came back. Like we didn't lose a whole heat segment or whatever, because both these guys are bad guys. So you can get that out of the way. And I did like that. I liked that. Really throughout this match, like nobody was really a de facto face either. Like they kind of just went after it. But they didn't get too cute too. Like we're 2 bad guys. So, you have that thing where they tease they're not going to wrestle or whatever.
Right. Yeah. They went right at it. Yeah.
So a very good opener. I mean, really, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it did feel like a tonal change from a lot of stuff we've seen. Even like the matches that have been good on Raw have felt like they've been pretty story driven. Like the Mankind versus Undertaker match on Raw, like that was a good match, but obviously that was like a 6-month feud. So to have 2 guys go out there and just wrestle and it be a good match and it not involve Mero or Hemsley or some of these guys that we've seen forever, it was good.
Mankind's one of our MVPs, like you said, in '96, and Owen's a guy that we wanted to see more of. We talked about in our year in review. He was kind of on the most disappointing list for us. So it's good to see him mix it up and have some energy here. And we're in the second hour of a taping, so it's nice to see too that like this. Usually, some of this would be a little more dull. So
yeah, right.
All right. So Shawn Michaels, Jose Lothario, and his son Pete Lothario are backstage. Jose says he's doing better. He thanks the fans for his support. He'll be in Shawn Michaels' corner at the Rumble. Pete says he's been assisting his dad in every way possible. But in Texas, we don't play those games, and he will be there to help at the Rumble as well. Shawn says Sid has upset them all, and they can't wait to hear what Sid has to say. He'll be at the announce table for the main event, and again vows not to interfere in Bret Hart's matches. So we'll see. Any thoughts on Jose and Pete?
Well, they really made Jose. I mean, like, he's older, but like,
they make him seem feeble. Yeah,
my parents are 62. Jose was 63 at this point, and you'd have thought like he was like in his 90s. The way they make him, he's so fragile. It's like, all right, man. Like,
this dude is wrestling like less than a decade ago.
Yeah, I mean, he still should be like a working adult. Like if this was nowadays, like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's funny. We'll see what Pete has to say as the night goes on. We get some highlights from Shotgun Saturday Night. We see that Crush took on Ahmed Johnson. The Nation of Domination attacked, and we get the infamous moment. Ahmed hits a power bomb on the roof of a car. It's always assumed that was D'Lo, but I don't think it was, right? Wasn't it like another guy, or was it D'Lo?
I don't think it's D'Lo.
Yeah, so he is one of the Nation members with the power bomb. We then see the Sisters of Love walking around. It's Mother Smucker and Sister Angelica. They take on the Godwins. Brother Love showed up. He's back to manage the nuns. So
a hideous match.
Yeah, no bueno. The power bomb in the car was cool.
Powerbomb. I mean, so like I watched this whole show.
This has Marlena too, or is that the next week?
Yeah, that's so they really shove in a lot. Like you got the sisters. That's the first thing that comes out. You got Sunny on commentary. I mean, she's teasing her sex tape after Marlena flashes the crowd or the Sultan. Bob Backlund loses his mind at that.
That's a
And
great
then
moment. I love that.
yeah, he goes ballistic. You have Pettingill doing his Macarena rap about Masquerita Sagrada. You know, he comes from a place where you don't drink the water. He's about as tall as my 2-year-old daughter. It's awful. It's the whole thing's like,
Man, think about Vince booking himself to commentate a late night show in a bar with Sonny. Like, just go all in. That's all in right there. Not even hiding it.
yeah, that was then like, and then and then when she announces like that she's doing her section, she's like, "Oh, I don't know if we can show that on TV."
I
But
feel like that's early for a sex tape. Like, when was Pamela Anderson? Was that even out yet?
I think that was out.
It just come out?
I think she actually mentions that. Like you
Right.
thought, like Pamela and Tommy was
Yeah. It's just like the
hardcore.
term
Like
sex tape now is like so common, but then like I feel like outside of Pamela, it wasn't really a thing.
yeah, I think that
Yeah.
was like on the culture. Like, I mean, I was 11,
Yeah.
so real time I was not still a innocent young little boy, but
Naturally.
yeah.
All right. Well,
It was just a weird. I mean, it's a weird show. Like it was definitely the like equivalent of like let's try to. I mean, it ends with like Cornette getting stripped and running through New York City in his boxers. So it's like we're just gonna do like all this like zany, what we think's edgy stuff,
and
and
why
like
is he here anyway? Didn't he get buried by the Undertaker?
well,
He's done.
that airs the next
Oh,
day.
that's the next day. Okay,
Yeah,
so he ran right into the ring and got tombstone.
yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see on Ryan and JT's excellent wrestling adventure. Maybe we will hit the debut episode of Shotgun soon. We're
Mm,
doing all the premieres of the big shows, so
it's a
we've done
mess.
superstars so far, but we'll see if we get to that. All right, back to the ring we go. Is Diesel and Razor Ramon still here, taking on Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon? Honky Tonk Man's in the booth. He's
Oh,
still undecided who to take under his wing. Furnas and LaFon come in. They're still slowly building this resume. King mocks Furnas's hair. Vince says Furnas and LaFon face the Sisters of Love on Shotgun this weekend. Diesel works over LaFon to start, but LaFon blocks a choke. Diesel gets a hard shoulder block. LaFon works the arm. Honky says he's looking for an individual and he may split up a team if he needs to. Ramon gets a follow-away slam. Honky says he loves Razor's greasy hair. We get a crucifix by LaFon for 2. Quick German. Furnas comes in. Him and Razor kind of trade holes. Furnas goes to breaks an abdominal stretch, gets a belly to belly. Diesel comes in and overpowers. After a break and a Royal Rumble ad, Furnas gets out of another abdominal stretch. Diesel gets a sidewalk slam for 2 as King makes a comment about the Jaguars having a big playoff upset. Vince talks up Razor and Diesel, defeating the Godwin family recently as we edge along. The crowd starts to turn on this as Diesel goes after the back. Honky rambles on as Furnas escapes. LaFon comes in, he cleans house. Diesel kicks LaFon coming off the middle rope. LaFon catches Razor with a belly-to-belly, tags Furnas, but he comes into a Razor clothesline. Razor goes to the Razor's edge. LaFon makes a save, and Furnas gets a Frankensteiner on Ramon. Furnas and LaFon knock Diesel to the floor and get a very awkward Doomsday device on Ramon for the win. I thought this was pretty sluggish. It was long. Razor and Diesel go way too much offense. They are looking more cohesive, but everything is very simple. This gimmick is an albatross for them. Furnas and LaFon are a bit too bland for the setting. Like, these guys are guys that either have to be with dudes that can hang or just destroy teams, like show off the suplexes and the throws and all that. Like, just laying around selling for 2 green dudes isn't the way to go about it. They should be opening the throttle against these guys. We should be doing Razor and Diesel soon. Hopefully the gimmick is done. Furnas and LaFon chug along. I went 2 1/4 because, again, I think it was like fine, but it was just long. It was long.
Yeah, 1.5 for me. I didn't like this much at all. I think you covered most of it. It's just Furnas and LaFon, they've really mismanaged booking them. They're just not giving them any. They're not doing them any favors with who they're putting them in or how they're presenting them. Because if you want to present them, I mean, and Ross on commentary will talk about it when he's on commentary for him. But if you want to present them as like these great athletes that can do all this stuff, like you saw it sometimes with the Rockers, it's just, I just don't think like WWF really has the guys that can do it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a roster thing in
Right.
some ways. Honky, really annoying. Like, I'm really annoyed at this. Like, I don't know who cares. Like, you keep saying he's looking for this. I mean, I could not care less. So I don't like this. Razor and Diesel obviously don't like them. The quicker they go away, the better. So this was a miss.
Yeah, they need to go. They need to go fast. It's we're way overdue, way past the expiration date on those guys. Yep. Vince takes us to clips from last week where Jerry the King Lawler faced off with Goldust. That led to Hunter S. Helmsley kidnapping Marlena. Mero made the save and then got decked, as we saw, along with Marlena. Vince says next week Goldust and Mark Mero team up to take on Hunter S. Helmsley and Jerry Lawler. We get clips from Shotgun of what you mentioned a minute ago, Marlena flashing the Sultan and Backlund flipping out as Goldust got the win thanks to Marlena's boobs. We go backstage where the Hitman is with us. He gets a dig about Shawn Michaels' integrity. He says if he wants to sit ringside, Bret hopes he sticks his nose in so he can knock him out. Issues a warning to Vader, says he's big, but he's also stupid. We then hear Sid's music start, and Bret is aggravated that he gets cut off, and he storms away. So a very surly Hitman tonight.
Yes. I think we're going to see that for most of 1997.
Yes. Yeah. Not happy.
No.
We got your buddies here joining us from the Alamo Dome, George and Adam. They're excited, just 2 weeks away. Of course, George screwed up his sign. It says Austin 318. And then I think in the highlight of all this for me, Adam calls him fat boy. Made me laugh. Another guy shows up. We get a third man and says they are in his seat, and he sits between George and Adam, who are not happy to have this dude in between them. But I think all these segments are worth it. Him calling a fat boy made them all worth watching.
No, definitely really not. Like,
really funny.
Like, I don't want to rant on these guys every week, but it's like, if this is your representative, like they're trying to promote the show that you can't miss this show, and they're presenting these two guys as like super fans of your product, and they're both complete idiots.
Right.
Like, is this like, this would be like your, I mean, this is the equivalent of like, you know, in WCW, if they were like two dumb rednecks that were like, well, we don't have running water or cable, but we got to get this paper. You know, I mean, like, it's like, what are you doing? Like, these guys don't even, like, you can't even get Austin's catchphrase right. They can't buy 2 seats together, even though they've been sitting in an empty arena for 3 months. It's what a mess. What an awful mark.
Better or worse than Billionaire Ted? About a year apart.
The Billionaire Ted stuff was dumb, but was in spite. Like, this is legitimately trying to promote a show. And
better or worse than them always hyping up their technical difficulties throughout the year.
No, that was stupid too. That was definitely pushed too. I just can't get over that this is to promote a show. Like you're wanting to say like these guys are such great fans they can't not miss the show.
Right, they got to be there early. Yeah,
and they're complete bumbling idiots.
They would have been better like having like as legit fans trying to break in or something, like sneak in or something like that.
Yeah, or anything. I mean, like you can do like super fans like camping out. Like I would have just had them camping out at the Alamo Dome. Like that wouldn't have been bad. I don't know, like of around this time, like I guess the N64 is at 96 or 97, but you could have it like, you know, like a Black Friday thing, like oh, like hey, we're camping out of the Alamo.
That was the thing. I mean, waiting for tickets outside was like a thing.
Yeah, like you think about like the Saved by the Bell U2 episode, like that's not. I mean, that's also a stupid episode with the mall heist or whatever,
but that is a thing that we did. We stood outside in line for tickets,
yes,
you know, to get into a show or whatever. So
right. I mean, the January 4th Finger Poke of Doom Nitro, I had to wait at a Kroger for like 3 hours. So
we know the shifts there are only like 4 hours. So. Sid hits the ring. He's joined by Jim Ross for a chat. Ross asks Sid if he's intimidated to go into hostile territory. Sid says JR has no clue because he's not intimidated by nothing. No man. And inside the ring, you have to be hit or be hitting, kick or be kicking. And sometimes you hit someone with a camera before you're hit first. In San Antonio, everyone will realize he was born to be the man, and Shawn can never have that claim. Hometown or not, he walks in the odds against him. He will walk in the man, walk out the man. He is the master and the ruler of the world. Shawn's music fires up. He heads to ringside with Jose. Shawn dances and strips on the table as Sid just stands there chuckling. Sid says this is why he does what he does. So he apologizes to everyone around the world for what he's about to do, and he won't be responsible. Sid leaves as Vince says Jose is joining the Spanish announce team. Fine stuff from Sid, keeps it simple, and kind of gives an ominous warning that makes you realize something probably bad is coming from this guy because he says, my apology isn't for what I've done, it's for what I'm about to do.
Yeah, I continue to not like this feud very much. I just find Shawn's actions to be very bizarre as a baby.
Like, why is he out dancing? And he was
like,
angry.
is that supposed to distract Sid? Yeah, I mean, like, he should be a lot more vengeful.
I think he's trying to show maybe like he's not bothered by him or worried, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, in Sid's promos, they've all been okay, but I don't think we've really had like that crazy, like, maniacal Sid. I don't like. Sometimes he has obviously like the what you did right there is bogus. Like, he can have these like great one-liner promos that have these memorable lines. I don't think we've got one in this build, so it's not like I would say it's awful, but again, I'm not that juiced for the match either.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing because actually, like, in-ring quality, they actually definitely over-delivered the Survivor Series. So you would think like you'd be psyched for another edition, but
I think most feel like probably realize that was an over delivery and like unlikely to hit that again, especially with the atmosphere. I guess they're banking on maybe internally banking on San Antonio hometown atmosphere being similar like MSG, like it'll be crazy for Shawn or whatever. So
yeah, they keep trying to push that. They're like, the Alamo Dome's gonna be so pumped for their hometown hero. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know.
All right, well, Vince hypes that show up, and then we head to our main event, which is Bret the Hitman Hart taking on Vader. Pretty exciting on paper, this card. I mean, if you came into the show, just looked at the matches on paper, you got Owen versus Mankind, Bret versus Vader, and Furnace on the Fall. Like, you're thinking it's probably going to be a better in-ring episode for all, just based on the matches beforehand. Hart chugs out. Shawn says Bret drew first blood on him, just as he did his best job to defend the title, while Bret shit on him out of pure jealousy. Shawn mocks Bret's white boots not matching his gear, so that had to be something. Bret must have lost his boots or something for Shawn to call it out.
It's a weird look. Yeah. When he came out, because he's wearing like almost all pink, and then just plain white boots.
This has to be someone else's. He must have lost his.
I was wondering. I was trying to think like whose those could be.
Like, yeah, it could have been anyone, jobber or some shit. But there's a reason Shawn says it, and that's got to be because of that.
It's like a one-off look. I didn't think it looked that bad. It actually looked like a custom, like look. It was okay, but it's definitely it's a little jarring for sure.
Vince says Jim Cornette will not be with Vader tonight. We're going to find out why a little bit later. Vader stomps out as Shawn says being happy made him lose his edge, but he's back. And Vince says it's all about attitude in the World Wrestling Federation. We see clips from Superstars.
Yes. Quigley, is that the first time he said that?
I think so, yeah.
I made note of that because he was like, if you want attitude, come to the World Wrestling Fair. I was like, oh, that was interesting.
Planting seeds, I guess. Yeah. Subconsciously.
Yeah.
We see clips from Superstars where Undertaker stalked a ranting Jim Cornette in the announce booth. He dragged him to the ring and hit a tombstone, as JR says, look at the girth, as he was tombstoning Cornette. Vince says that was the best play-by-play man in the business, doing commentary on that segment. So still getting his digs in. But Cornette is laid out by Undertaker at the tombstone. So
that's a big write-off Superstars episode to start the new year because Cornette's gone. Also,
early '98, right? I think.
I think so. Yeah, with the NWA stuff. Also, R.I.P. Freddie Joe Floyd. He has his last televised match with Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Actually pulls a Rick Rude and is on USWA television
same day
immediately. Yeah.
I think Cornette. It actually may be '97. He shows back up on one Raw with the Headhunters.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He leads them out to attack
So,
Bulldog and Owen,
right,
I think, at some
right,
point.
right,
But that's like
right.
a one-off thing, and then he's gone till the NWA. Back to the ring we go. We get going as Shawn keeps getting his digs in. He says he'll squash Bret alone with no help. Bret's boots, again, are very plain. So must be borrowed. Vader clubs away as Shawn mocks Bret's style, takes a shot at the King, stealing jokes. We go outside. Bret shoots Vader to the steps. Shawn asks who they is about the man they call Vader. Bret hammers away on the floor as Shawn says Bret claims to be honest and fair, but that he'll hit you with a chair. Vince says Shawn is always straightforward. Bret unloads some punches in the ring, starts to work the arm as King takes a dig at Frank Sinatra. Vader cuts down Bret with a body block as Vince talks about the Rumble. Vader throws some more punches, gets a body block off the middle rope. We see Steve Austin watching backstage as we go to break. We get the Starburst Fruit Twist Rewind as Ahmed Johnson's powerbomb in the car. When we come back, Vader gets another middle rope body block as as King asks, why didn't Jose name Pete Hose B? It's a terrible joke, but it made me laugh. Vader gets 2 on a middle rope splash as Shawn keeps going in on Bret. Bret dodges the Vader bomb with knees as the crowd wakes up. Bret comes firing back, gets all his closing offense. Shawn starts calling out his spots. Says, I'm sure we'll see a backbreaker next. It says Bret does the same thing all the time. Bret charges as Vader catches him. They both tumble over the top to the floor. They hammer away as Sid shows up, grabs a cameraman, and drags him to the back. As that's happening, Steve Austin pops up. He's beating on Bret. He hits a stunner, but everyone misses it. The cameras, the announcers. We go back inside. Vader hits the Vader bomb and pins Bret Hart for the win, which is a pretty big upset right now, given where both guys are, for Vader to win this, even with Austin helping. All right, let's talk about the match before we get to Sid's antics. I thought the match itself felt like a time filler. It was simple, not exciting. It never got going. It was really just about Shawn ranting about Bret. Very sleepy time. We had some fresh matchups. The crowd, after Mankind Owen kind of checked out, we're just not putting the pieces together. Like, okay, we had some good matches on paper, but they're not delivering. So it's like every time they kind of make progress, it falls apart a little bit in a different area. Yeah. I think they have some juice to the Rumble. We'll see if they can get there. But this main event was disappointing. It was sloppy. And Vader basically wins clean in a way, but it's kind of forgettable because the match, it's like they were just filling time to eat up the rest of the show, which is disappointing for the two guys that were in there. I was kind of hoping maybe for a little bit of a hidden gem, but ends up going 2.5 for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I went 2 3/4. I liked the after the commercial break. The first part of the match I thought was really weird with Bret trying to make it more technical, just not Vader's forte, not what they need to. Quick note, just real quick on Cornette, because we're not going to see him for a while, as we talked about. Like, he's another age thing. Like, he's 35 or 6.
That's crazy.
And like his outfit and everything, like it's so dated. Like I was horrified that I'm older than him.
If he wasn't such a fucking nut, like and so strong-willed, I mean, that's a guy that could have had even more of a run.
Yeah, I mean, he's 61 now. I mean, I guess if he's like Jose, maybe
Hose B. But you would think, I mean, at 35, he's pretty much washed now. Like he could have gone somewhere else or came back. I mean, he's a little dated for WF, but
it's just funny. Like even when he does his Ring of Honor stuff, like a decade later, like he's only 45.
Yeah, he feels like such an old man.
I mean, he was presented as like 60 plus. Like he's like when he does that, he's 3 years older than like AJ Styles.
It's crazy they never bring him in ECW to do like the ultimate him and Cornette war, like Cornette I know he kind of came in, I guess, in '97 with the WWF stuff, but to like go there for like an extended run later,
right?
Like him with Carino, like doing the old school thing
could have been cool. Really good. Yeah, it's interesting. But this match after the break, I've been watching more '97 stuff as we go along. I think this match was actually hurt because there's 2 house show matches from these guys, like January 4th and 5th, which were taped after this one, but my chronological watching I watched before, and they weren't great. Like still, like this pairing of 2 top 40 guys of all time, you thought they might have like a great match in them. They kind of weren't aspiring to that.
So and that holds later in '97 because they do fight again with the roles flipped, and I don't remember that being anything special either.
No, so
I think we're just seeing it. Vader. It's like when the Yankees signed Randy Johnson, or it's like you're kind of like you expect it's still Randy Johnson, right? Oh, he'll turn it on. I think we keep waiting for that from Vader, but I think he's just washed. Like I think because even his end of WCW stuff isn't like great. Like he's got a couple good things with Hogan, but I think by 95 into 96, I think he's just done. I think you kind of kept waiting for him to turn it on. You want to blame the booking or this or injuries, but like I think his fastball is just kind of gone. He can maybe pull it out now and then, but I think
it's weird.
consistency
Like
is done.
he has a little bit of a like his All Japan 99 is really good, but
Yeah.
I mean the Randy Johnson comparison is good there. And even so, this shows like how repetitious they were. The finish was exactly the same too, where like Austin runs out and does the same thing where he clips Bret's knee as he's holding the steps or whatever, and then gives him the stunner on the floor, rolls him in. Vader wins 1-2-3. So I did think like if this could have been very good, it would have helped make this Raw like one of the better ones in a while.
Yeah, this needed to be like a 3 1/4. Like would have been fine. Like, give us that. Like even if you ended up with Austin interfering still, but at least make it hot, more of a slugfest, and instead of it's a sleepy crowd. It's like we keep saying it. No matter how hard they work in the ring, this taping format kills them because the crowd is just cooked like this late in the show. So until we get to something a little bit more lively of a format, we're just not going to really get any. Because even look at some of the best Raws we talked about. We're heavy on backstage stuff, cutaways. Like it's very rare that we get a great Raw that's like all in the arena.
Yeah, Shawn on commentaries are rough too, as usual.
It's just over the top. I mean, they're really trying to push this as a personal feud, like we talked about. In the last couple episodes, like it started way earlier than I remembered with the two of them, like getting kind of nasty and personal. I thought it really didn't fire up to like May with the two of them really sniping at each other, or April, whatever. But it really starts sooner than you would think. Like I would have never guessed that face to face was in December with the two of them that we saw last episode. So, all right, we go backstage. Sid grabs poor Pete Lothario by the throat. He punches him and then power bombs him on a table that does not give.
No.
Poor Pete. Shawn runs back to help, but it's too late. We get a replay after the break. And then we come back, we see Shawn, Savio Vega, Barcon, and Aldo Montoya all try to help out Pete as Shawn is raging about Sid, that's a pretty good finish to a sleepy show. Sid has talked a lot, and we talked about how he didn't like the build. Since he knocked out Jose, he hasn't done anything crazy. Like, think of like his best runs are 92, right? Where he went on the Jobber Destruction Tour. Even 95, when he first turned on Shawn and built it In Your House 1, they kind of redid that, where he destroyed a bunch of guys on TV. And I think they could have done that again with this. They had a lot of name guys that they could have been feeding to him every week. Your Aldo, your Bart, your Henry Phineas Godwin, whoever the hell you want. Like, right? He should have been destroying those guys every week and establishing himself as a monster instead of trying to let him talk about being the man. Sid's not at his best when he's giving serious promos about being the man. He's at the best when he's wrecking shop and then just being a fucking maniac on the mic. And they kind of went away from that after Survivor Series. Maybe because they thought he was getting over as a face, but then they kind of turned him heel here. So it's like kind of weird, the abrupt twist. But this was cool because he's back to just being a nut, and he like this poor kid just fucking power bombs him on a hard table with zero give at all.
Nasty. Yeah, thought it was a good ending for Sid. Shawn rushing back was a little much. Also loved his like the babyface crew was like Job City.
Aldo.
What can you do?
All right, let's get to our awards here. Match of the night, I think, was pretty easily Owen versus Mankind.
Yep.
The moment I went with Sid murdering Pete.
Yep.
Okay, and because of that, I gave Sid the MVP.
Yep.
Yeah, not much else cooking. No shots fired for debuts. We had Pete Lothario, and I put the Sisters of Love because I don't think we actually see them on Raw in that gimmick. So I figured this is probably the closest we get.
Okay.
No dropped angles. We didn't have any Farouk Please No's. And this is a little bit better than last week just because of Owen and Mankind. Bret Vader was fine. I like the Sid stuff at the end, so I went 5.5.
Yeah, I had the same rating. Yeah, I think this is one of those shows where, like, when you watch it, like, it looks really good on paper. When you watch it, you're slightly disappointing, but it's also one of those things where, again, we keep talking about it, and it's going to change quickly, so we'll see how it goes. But being an hour actually helped this show for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, well, 45 minutes like that tag match was bad, but
Right.
what it was. So
Yeah, if we had to go through another 40 minutes or whatever.
like the Sultan or somebody rolls
Yeah.
out there, it's like, oh,
It's gonna be curious when Raw goes to 2 hours. Like, where does that time come from? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
who are the guys that help fill that? Is it gonna be the Sultans, etc.?
Yeah, I
Or
mean, there was some cool like that Freddie Joe Floyd Hunter match on Superstars. Like that was a cool match that you could have fleshed out. But yeah, there's still some mid card concerns for sure.
all right, so that's it for Raw. So why don't we head over to WCW for the first Nitro, Chad, of 1997.
Yeah. Same opening, so still same old, same old. You know, though we haven't had in a while the WCW magazine
Yeah, that seems to be
Kid
done.
Morphin. So I wonder, let's make a marker on that. It's been probably a month or two without that. So we were wanting to track some of these like old dated things. That's one of them that we'll have to see. Giant is Andre the Giant's son. I think finally done. So we were getting a couple of them.
Right.
But they're in Monroe, Louisiana, which they made no mention of. So it didn't get the the
I
name
can't blame them. Yeah.
and all that. So weird, kind of weird arena. And we start off right with our opener, which is Glacier versus Bobby Eaton. So, Bobby Eaton definitely at the end of his run gets a little bit of offense to start off, but this is again another Glacier showcase squash with his kick varieties, and he ends up winning with a cytonic kick or about
Cryonic kick.
Cryonic kick, cytonic. I wrote it. I don't know what that is. Cryonic kick. In 2 minutes. This was a Squash City again. Like I know I keep saying like maybe I'm a little bit of a Glacier defender. I did think his kicks looked as precise as they had the last couple of weeks. But this is almost like the equivalent of what's going on with Furnace and LaFon on WWF, where they know somebody that was really hyped came in and is not landing like they hoped.
Right.
So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And we should be getting close to an angle. I think that's also
it's tough too though because like Furnace and LaFon can wrestle, so like I think they're banking on that. Whereas Glacier, like, can he?
Right. So, and enough with this law enforcement stuff. Like every time he comes out, I don't need to know his whole family trees and law enforcement.
Well, it feels like they treat it like, this could be the first time someone's watching, I guess, but it's like, yeah, we don't need the whole friggin' thing every time.
Yeah. So star and a half, it was a squash. It was what it was.
Larry takes another shot at Dusty and the Cowboys not be able to, be the complete team he thought they were. So we'll dig at him. Yeah, it's the usual shtick here. I like to talk about Larry, about Eaton struggling as a solo wrestler throughout the years. I thought that was kind of, good insight. I went half a star. I didn't think it was even a good squash, honestly. Poor Ian.
Glacier. Gave the Razor Diesel 2 1/4.
There was at least stuff in that match. This was
come on, chin lock and
poor execution. I'm a squash guy. I just didn't like this as a squash. I thought it was nothing doing.
So Larry and Tony then kind of intro the show. They say again they have some footage that they're going to show Piper winning from last week at Starrcade. And then they basically campaigned for Piper to join WCW. So that seems like the next step here where, they mentioned like Piper going into the match at Starrcade. He's not WCW. He's a man of his own or whatever. He's a loner. But now it's like, why don't he come to WCW side and help lead the brigade and whatnot? Was what it was. Strap match. WCW is good for one of these mid card, and we just saw Tenta won the most.
Yes.
There's always this is basically like our new Duggan Wall Street Tenta Bubba feud, which is
it's always Bubba.
Yeah, it's Bubba versus these Dungeon of Doom guys. Conan, we get another strap match. Bubba has some weird music.
Yeah. It wasn't the NWO music. It was I don't think it was even. Was it his usual song? I don't think it was even that.
I don't. And
I think they screwed up. Like someone screwed up and played the wrong thing or something.
I gotta tell you, like, like wrestling fans are very OCD, as you find out if you do a podcast, because you get corrected on almost anything. But the themes on YouTube are out of control. Because like if there's one bar that changes,
Oh yeah,
like
it's the new version.
don't put them on a draft that we
Yeah.
do, or you'll be very mad at them, because it's like Bubba version 7. It's like,
Right.
what is this? It sounds the same. So I don't know. Tony, congrats to Florida Gators for winning the NCAA championship. There's a girl shown in the crowd right on the intro, and Tony goes, "Hello there," like pervy Tony. And also
trying to catch King for the horniest commentator in the Observer Awards.
tweet Vince, King, and Tony. We're at peak corn dog territory here. Tony also shows NWO sold out.
And the big January at the Superdome as well.
Yeah,
Super
they
Bowl,
run through
Super Bowl, and the big Nitro.
Right, which I think is pretty cool that they're going to be there. Lee Marshall mentions that too later. So basic action in this match. I talked about last week. I actually thought like the Wall Street was pretty gamey last week. I thought this was a very bad Bubba performance and a worse Conan performance. They didn't like lay into each other like I'd like. And then we just get a finish that I thought was completely asinine. I hate it. I hate it. And there's no sense like, I mean, you mentioned it last time for last week's Nitro, and I mean, if you're not going to do the momentum break, like what would constitute that? Because otherwise, it's just like the whole match he could just touch all four corners.
It drives me nuts.
Here, like real
Yeah.
bad. Like this, he gets knocked down, like he's completely down, and the momentum takes over, and then it's actually Bubba that gets the offense and punches Conan. So it's an ultimate like slipped on banana peel win. I don't like none of this. 3/4 of a star. I didn't like this at all.
I actually want to start with 3/4, but it was, I mean, it was a mess. The ending, we talked about that ending trope a lot in the last drive match. This is twice now they kind of use it where it feels like the momentum should have broken and they don't. And this was way more egregious, like you said. Like they start fighting again, and then he falls into the corner, like I don't know, 10 seconds later. Like it seemed like it shouldn't have counted at all. I mean, I didn't complain that it did because I was happy it was over, but it was weird. I mean, so we get a lot of Piper talk throughout this, mainly too. Yeah, it's just all strikes and chokes. I'm done. I'm done with the strap matches for these guys. Like I'm done with this feud. Pretty janky overall.
He cut to Gene. Tony gets a shot in about him saying the wrong year last time.
Yeah, that's funny.
He actually makes a comment too on WCW Saturday Night the weekend before that he's got the correct year this time. But then right here he says we had a great 1997. So he's just a mess. He's all over the place. So he brings in Kevin Sullivan. This is your basic Sullivan stuff. He says, Gene brings up Woman Benoit. Kevin's like, "Are you trying to pry me?" Gene brings up a tape. He says, I don't want to see any more tapes, etc. Then Gene says, well, they just need to get it together and attack the NWO, which felt very insensitive too.
Right. It's like, look, I don't give a shit if you're at work. I don't really care. We're just gonna beat the NWO.
Yeah. It's like if you go to work and you tell your boss, hey, I'm going through this divorce or whatever. It's like, well, sorry, we got this deadline next week, buddy. Like, we got bigger fish to fry around here. It's like, whoa.
And not even your boss. Gene's not even his boss.
Yeah, Gene's like a coworker. Yeah. It's like, all right, buzz off, Gene. What a jackass. So then this was, we talked about how inside this feud is. I don't even know what this talks about because I don't know where this is going. But Kevin basically this is no checkmate. The game's just getting started, etc. But Gene says, the tape isn't doesn't involve Woman and Benoit, but I think you do know who it involves, and do you care to pursue it? Which
Yeah,
again,
I don't know where they're going with this.
I don't know what that means or if we're supposed to have any idea, but
I don't know.
that
Is there
might
another
be
female like that Sullivan used like at one point that could have shown back up or something? Maybe they were planning like a mixed tag or something. Like,
well, I mean, I do know who I think they eventually go to,
oh right, yeah.
right? But
I don't think they're hinting at that already. I mean,
I
well, yeah,
think
maybe.
so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think people are
Anyone
gonna
would know.
know
Why would
either.
you even
Yeah,
tie them
like
together?
nobody's
You know.
gonna know. So yeah, I don't know.
And he also says the match has just started, but I'm in position to win. So, like, I don't know. He's already in position after one chess
Right,
move.
right.
Yeah, weird promo. And then
Human
we're right back
chemistry.
at it now. We're right back at it.
Yeah, this was between the match and this interview. This was a crummy
Hmm
10-minute stretch of Nitro here. Then we come back from break, and Gene's found his way to the highway for the Big Four Horsemen interview for the week. So no Benoit Woman, Flair screaming about the Florida Gator. He's on cloud nine. Uh, Orange starts off the promo. He says he picks his words carefully. He says what he means and means what he says. He talks about Benoit Woman not here this week and asks Nate if he has any idea where they're at. Uh, Flair does one of his earlier mean jeans here. And then a little bit, this is a bad line in retrospect, but
hmm
he says, like, you're married to the devil for 10 years. You deserve a night out. And I'm sure Benoit is working her out as we speak. Woo!
Like the Horseman does.
Yeah,
But
like the whole,
again, it's like Flair continues to be like horny Jerry Seinfeld. Like he's cracking jokes, make like they're looking to this guy to like help straighten the team out, and like he's just on like
yeah,
off in another fucking world. Like he's not even acknowledging any problems. He's like, oh well, like they've had a night out for the last how many months? Like so yeah, she
went to
deserves another
Europe
night out.
together.
Yeah.
Now, I
She
know they
deserves
still,
another night out because she was with
yeah,
Sullivan for a decade. Like
yeah.
it's just I don't know. This whole thing has just been fucking weird.
Flair's definitely going through a midlife crisis with his
Yeah,
gimmick right now. It's
odd.
it's it's definitely odd. Deborah, of course, she's got something to say. Boy, does she ever this week. She's sick of Chris and Nancy. We know that. Big boos start pouring in. And she says, you guys don't see her in the dressing room. She's as ugly as grandpa's toenails. And then Chris may take her to the fat farm, and then we won't see her for a couple of years. Flair, Arn, and Mongo always show
Steven,
up.
she says.
Oh,
Steven.
yes, Steven. That's right. Always Steven, not Mongo. Mongo,
Yes.
baby. They always show up for work. They're able to separate work from pleasure. Jeff is a wonderful
Oh,
guy.
she also says
And
she never missed a beauty pageant.
right, never missed a beauty pageant either. Jeff is a wonderful guy and the most professional four horsemen. So quite
And
a
Mongo's favorite, she says.
quite another great promo from Deborah. She's becoming one of the MVPs of the show with this like hating on Nancy.
She's like the original Mean Girl.
It is so out comes Jarrett. Flair immediately calls him Double J. I
Well,
don't
Flair
know.
goes, Deborah always mentions Double J, and then he comes out.
Yeah, it's like all right. I probably got a letter from Jerry
I'm
McDevitt.
telling you, it's like fucking Seinfeld. He's like Jerry, just like commenting on what's going on. He's like, "Oh, there's Deborah, always talking about Double J," and then it comes
Yeah.
Double J like Kramer comes flying in the fucking picture.
Oh God. So Jarrett says you invented styling and profiling. Do you want a part-time horseman or a full-time horseman? So he asks Flair that. Arn answers him. He says, number one, you aren't a horseman. Number two, if you aspire to be a horseman, quit crying and being a victim. And then Jarrett takes a run at him. He says, they tried to play him at Starrcade. He knows the horseman's games, but he still came out on top. Then he says Arn always played second fiddle to Ole Tully and Flair, and he didn't come to talk to the horse's rear. He wanted to talk to the main man, which Tony gasps at that on commentary, and Arn basically clubs him from behind. and beats the crap out of him down the aisle. So anything else you want to add on the promo before we get to the
No, I
impromptu?
like Jarrett as like the whipping boy, I guess, a little bit. Like I like that he speaks up, like he doesn't give a shit. Like he's like, look, are we gonna fucking do business or what? And then like they're immediately all over him, even though he's like the not the problem. Like so Flair's taking all his anger out on him. Finally, like he's taking shots. Arn's going all in on him, like he's displacing that anger. So I actually liked this part of it. Like these guys are frustrated about everything going on with Benoit and Sullivan and the NWO, and this guy's trying to join the ranks. He's annoying them, and they're just gonna take it out on him. And I liked Arn punching him. I liked Jarrett's retort. I just could take or leave like Flair being goofy. I want like Flair engaged, and I don't like the Sullivan stuff is going to be less cryptic. And I think that we'd be in a little bit better position with all this, but it's just like we're also not progressing. We've pretty much seen the same promo for like 2.5 months. I feel like every week, like we're not really making moves here.
Yeah, well,
and kudos to WCW. I think they always get a lot of crap for like not long-term booking or like changing stuff, but the one thing they do is almost to a detriment sometimes. They have things set and staked out for like future shows so far out sometimes that they spin wheels. We saw with DDP, like how long did that take for him to finally get real? Because they wanted to get to this goalpost. And we see it. We saw with the Outsiders, the way that was slow played. We saw with Piper. We see it with Sting in play now, where it's like stuff that you think happens faster than it does. And I think a lot of it too going forward is because of Hogan's contract. So we see a lot of like, oh, he's going to fight this guy 2 pay-per-views from now, right? So now we're going to get there and kill time. Luckily, they build up a roster and talent enough that they can start eating up those weeks more. But it feels like they do stake stuff out so far sometimes that it takes forever to get there. Like, I mean, May they had Benoit Sullivan planned for Super Bowl, right? So now we got to eat all this time to get to Super Bowl or whatever, a Clash, whatever it is that they staked it out
for. Right. So we get this like impromptu match where Mongo's yelling Arn to take his head off. Crowd's chanting for the DDT. Jarrett takes a barrage of punches, then fires back with some of his own. Arn sends him to the outside and into the camera platform. But this was a very smooth spot when Arn rolls Jarrett back in and gets in the ring. Jarrett, in one fluid motion, gives him a swinging neck breaker. And with his feet on the ropes, he gets the pin. Larry proclaims this wasn't a match, but the bell rung both times, and the referee's in there signaling for the bell. So I don't know what to tell him. I kind of just like, did you rate this?
Yeah, I gave it a star.
Okay. I went 2 for everything. I mean, I thought like they did a good job, actually did advance some stuff here, especially post match, which we'll get to. But
yeah, I mean, just hit it all. I guess I kind of have it all in one spot.
Okay, so they kind of go after Jarrett, but Deborah steps in front of him. And then like Flair kind of puts his hand on Deborah, and Mongo gets pissed.
Yeah.
And says like, "No, that is my woman. Don't you put your hand on her." And Flair, I mean, if you do a back-to-back of Backlund freaking out after seeing Marlena's boobs and Flair right here, like those are 2, like put those on a loop and just like have it injected into my veins, because he does his full like flip out jacket off. Like we hadn't seen that much. Like
no, we haven't.
Here. Mongo then says, "You know what? I'm okay." He calms down. So they basically say like that Deborah's vouching for Jarrett.
Yeah.
She convinces Mongo or Steven to be on her side. Mongo kind of tells Flair. Flair says, if Mongo's okay with him, I'm okay with him. And Flair shakes Jarrett's hands. They do a strut together. And Arn is pissed. He says, the hell with this, and walks away. So it looks like we have a new member of the Horsemen, and it's Jeff Jarrett here, officially.
I like the fight. It's just so confusing because, like, the last we really saw Flair, he was acknowledging Jarrett and, like, I'm trying to think of the word, but whatever, like, signing off on him, right? It's like a Horseman.
Right.
Like, he was accepting him.
Yep.
Yeah, they and then all of a sudden he wasn't after these months where Jarrett hasn't even really been around. Like, it's just weird. Again, like, it's almost like too long in between things that we're resetting the stakes of it. I like the fight part, and we'll see. I mean, on the surface, it seems like Deborah's, the flying the ointment, trying to stir shit up within the Horsemen, and maybe make a play to end up with Jarrett. Like, it seems like that's where we're headed right now. So,
NWO sold out shirt, and the first 100 purchases get a signed poster.
$25.
Yeah. WCW Saturday Night, no announced matches. Amazing French Canadians, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Regal, Diamond Dallas Page, and many others. So we'll say the Saturday night, the weekend before, I watched that as well, and that was a really wild show. You had Jimmy Graffiti under his real name, Jim Richland.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One-off match versus Chris Jericho. I didn't even realize it was him when he came out. I was like, that guy looks familiar. And then I was like, oh, yeah, it's Jimmy Graffiti, just non-gimmick.
Still hanging around.
Yeah, very weird. He's actually on WCW Pro the same weekend as Jimmy Graffiti. So there you go. But it also has he's got a bicycle Bubba match commentary from Dusty. So big Saturday night the weekend before. We'll see what next week has in store for us. Now we get a TV title match. So this was supposed to be Steven Regal versus Diamond Dallas Page. Dallas's music starts up. He doesn't come out. Larry asks if Dusty is still with us since the Cowboys lost to the Panthers. So a lot of digs at Dusty and the Cowboys. Tony congratulates the Jaguars. Regal comes out to some new music here. I was heartbroken.
Yeah, the Blue Blood theme is gone. Now we got the Masterpiece Theater.
I was heartbroken at this.
Even Larry's confused. He's like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Oh, that's William Regal or Steven Regal." Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, that's different music than when I beat him."
Yeah.
Or how about different music from last week, buddy?
When I beat him,
okay, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years ago.
So he doesn't have an opponent whose music fires up a hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Larry goes, "Oh no!" He comes out.
Tony says they'll send some feelers out to see what happened with Dallas Page. Right as the match gets started, 6, Kevin Nash, Eric Bischoff come out. They invade the announce booth, take over there. Eric lets us know right away the newest member of the NWO is Diamond Dallas Page. Nash says, "Welcome aboard, buddy." Eric says now he can come over for some adult beverages on the weekends that he's missed hanging out with him. So they're bringing him in the fold.
He also says that DDP and Hall are out tonight, the Barbary Coast, having dinner. The hotel in Las Vegas, of course. He also thanks his English third grade teacher, Miss Epstein, for helping him become what he is today. So I don't know if that's another inside joke or what, but there you go.
Yeah, that's got to be something, but I don't know what. Some big USA chants here. Nash says, "Someone please hit Duggan in the face." Eric shielding the NWO, Miss NWO contest. Nash says, "Don't be afraid to send in some Polaroids." 6 begs us for no fat chicks. So.
Or heinous broads. He says, "Fat chicks or heinous broads." Bischoff also does the it's unbelievable. It'll be unbelievable in the Vince voice, which is
Oh man. So while all this is happening on commentary, I actually like the match. I will say, Duggan. They're in Louisiana, and Eric brings us up that this is like an old Mid-South stomping ground. Duggan's still very over. Like, I don't know if this is just Duggan or there's some old school, I remember back in 1982, this guy was awesome. So,
and Regal's good at he's so good at stooging. So he's actually a good foil for Duggan, who just throws heavy bombs, and Regal can bop around for him. So
yep, I made a note of that. Duggan's punches look good. Regal was kind of clowning and bailing to the outside. That looked good. And then when he comes back, he pounds away, and Duggan can take it. Nash at one point does say they look like 2 drunk guys getting into a fight at a Labor Day softball game.
And then they say, "But we like Regal. We like Regal."
Oh yeah.
They also said they can't find a tape of Starrcade. Nash has a scour in the black market.
Nope. Eric brings up the contracts. He said the deadlines came and passed. So Eric went out and signed an ideal candidate for the NWO. So keep that in mind. And then we get the first mention in a while of Randy Savage. So Eric says, if Randy Savage is listening, quit calling. He needs to enjoy retirement. He can talk to Liz every once in a while, and she can tell him how good it is at the NWO. So we talked about like the legitimate contract negotiations that were going on. It sounds like, Savage is back in the fold, obviously, if they're mentioning him on commentary.
Oh, you never know though with WCW. Honestly,
Let me
and also
actually
media's gone if they're taking shots at him with
let me scroll down on the Observer just to see if Davey has a note on
because
there.
there's a chance. I mean, you don't know. I don't think it tips it either way. I mean, he probably was signed, but I don't think it's like a clear tip that he's back because Bischoff just as likely to shit talk him if he's gone anyway.
By the way, Meltzer's write-up of the show is horrendous, as you might could have guessed. Let me see. Oh no.
Bischoff in here too compares Duggan to the Panthers beating the Cowboys, so they're all over this Cowboys loss.
I wonder how big of a favorite they were. I
There's an
remember
upset.
it being surprising.
The Panthers and Jaguars making the championship games was like a huge upset on both because they was only in their second year as teams. So it was like a big deal when they both made it.
Here's what Dave said about this whole match. Regal drew Duggan for the TV title in 8:28 of a negative star match. Duggan took Regal down to his level, and even the Louisiana fans weren't reacting to Duggan after the first few minutes.
What's he watching?
Because the bout got so bad. Bischoff, Nash, and Six did the announcement on this match. They said there would be a Miss NWO beauty pageant on the pay-per-view after all. Bischoff acted like Savage wanted to come back to WCW. Here it is, in parentheses. It's pretty much a done deal at this point, just a question of when and how, but acted like he wouldn't let him back in and told Savage to join an inferior organization. Bischoff also hinted a big star coming into the NWO, who I presume he was talking about Kurt Hennig. So there you go. But yeah, he calls this a negative star match. So we'll get to it. Like Duggan rolls up the tape. Nash says he likes a guy that can take a shortcut, and Duggan whacks him, and the time limit draw happens. This was like at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. They call it like a 10-minute time limit draw, but yeah, I'm way different from Meltzer here. I thought this was a lot of fun, actually. I mean, the commentary and the match itself are kind of in two different worlds, but they did kind of zip back into the match when needed. So I went 2 3/4 here. I actually really like this match. Shockingly. I mean, I was done with Duggan, but this is one of the better Duggan performances. And like you said, I think Regal's a good fall for him. Good compliment.
I liked it, and I liked all the commentary too. I mean, I always enjoy when the NWO pops in the booth. I like Six talking about, I have a win over Duggan. No one seems to remember it though. I thought it was funny. Duggan with the friggin' giant WCW flag. But I thought it was solid. A lot of brawling with Regal stooging. The commentary was good. The energy was good. I thought the crowd was into it. I don't know what else they're saying. Like, I thought they were there. Regal lives off the time limit draw. I mean, it's his gimmick, so it's fine. He just knows how to survive. It's part of his strategy. So I think it's fine. So I went 2.5. I thought it was good.
We're around the same way. Next, I don't even know if we want to talk about this. I think they were running short of time, or like for the show.
Yeah.
And wanted to get to hour 2, so this is just like a standby match. It's very weird. It's Hugh Morris versus Jim Powers. Teddy Long's out with Jim Powers.
But Morris has weird music too. Like, I don't know if this is his new theme or they fucked up again.
Right.
It's like some disco porn music he comes out to. It's weird.
Yes. It's his was so weird. I almost wanted to know if it was a dub, but
no, I don't think it was. It didn't sound like a dub to me.
This is 1 minute long. Morris wins with the no laughing matter. I went a half star. I mean, I don't.
I went 1.25 stars. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Powers is juiced out of his fucking mind. Larry compares the missing Piper Hogan footage to the missing footage of Nixon. We talk about Duggan carrying the WCW colors, but Larry says, "Yeah, we want Piper to be that guy, not Duggan," which is funny. It's just a platform for Starrcade, like you said, to fill. We get the Pep Boys replay. Larry calls Terry befuddled. Teddy. Teddy's like this. He's gonna get out of here. He's just a punching bag at this point. He's terrible. He should have won worst manager to me. He's awful. He's been awful all year. He looks like a dope all the time. And Larry is calling him befuddled. But he doesn't say like he was befuddled. He calls him befuddled, meaning like he's always befuddled. He's just like, and there's old befuddled Teddy Long yet again. So, yeah, whatever. Like you said, just eating up a few minutes.
We then get a throwback with Luger like in the back in front of the locker saying like "Don't touch the dial." Hour two's coming up. This
Yeah.
felt very like 1995. Hour two starts off. The announcers kind of talk about the Horsemen and imploding. Show some clips from earlier. Bobby says, when there's a woman involved, there's always trouble. And Tony says, I won't get a meal for another 3 months now because of that comment. And Bobby says, you're not missing much. So there you go. We start out hour two. Big showcase match here for the Luchadors. Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Psychosis. Today goes over the history of them, how they both started out in the same camp. This is basically their showcase match. It's nothing extraordinary, but their routine now is so solid. Like it's still a very solid match that has some highlights. I thought the springboard cannonball senton from Ray to the outside was really good. The commentary does talk about Jushin Liger beating Ultimo Dragon on the January 4th show. So he beat Ultimo for all the J Crown belts, but not the Cruiserweight Championship.
Yeah, so they're back to being delinked. So
yeah,
Dragon is still the Cruiserweight title.
Yeah, they do let us know it's going to be Ultimo versus Dragon again at the Clash of Champions in Milwaukee.
Yep.
Psychosis has a couple, like he has one weird botch on a moonsault to the outside where his neck hits the apron. That looked nasty. And then he wipes out on a dive to the outside where he goes chin first into the guardrail, which also looked bad. Comes back in, hits a big leg drop and a power bomb. And then Ray's able to flip over for a real close near fall. Psychosis wipes out on a drop kick. Ray hits his Rana for the win. So again, like this went a little short of 7 minutes. I went 3.25. I mean, I thought this got fun the last few minutes, like really fun, really good. Psychosis had a couple little shaky spots, but that's kind of Psychosis, to be honest. Like he's somebody that's very charismatic, but in the like luchador execution wise, he's gonna be a little bit more sloppy, more likely.
Yeah,
so I enjoyed this.
Today talks about how it was Liger's idea to unify the cruiser titles too, so they're really hyping up that rematch, the rubber match. The finish was definitely messy with that nasty bump onto his head off the ropes. Like he takes a really hard fall. We do get the word that the Steiners are back together. Scott's back, and they're challenging the Outsiders that sold out. So that's kind of big news there, that they're going to be back in the title picture. I thought Psychosis was a bit of a mess. The misses early. But like you said, he's still got good energy and excitement. He works within that construct. And it was a good showcase. Ray's trying to get back to the belt. I thought the back end ramped up for sure, and the crowd is into it. So I went 3 stars.
Okay. Come back from break. Another weird match that's also a quickie. Chavo Guerrero Jr. versus Kevin Sullivan. Sullivan attacks him in his robe. Chavo is able to hit a missile drop kick when Sullivan tries to take the robe off. We see some footage from the end of the Jarrett versus Benoit match.
Yeah, they fuck up. No, well, Tony first says he wants that.
Yeah.
And then they screw up and show the NWO attacking Eddie Guerrero by mistake.
Right.
And then they fix it. Yeah.
Falls count anywhere between Sullivan and Benoit is announced for the Clash of the Champions. Bobby says they could go to the Crusher's house and fight in his lawn because they're in Milwaukee.
Yeah, he just runs through a bunch of Wisconsin jokes.
Yeah. And then Sullivan again wins in 2 minutes with the trio woe and the double stomp. Afterward, he asks where Benoit's at. So I want to start here. Another squash. It was okay for what it was, I guess.
I went 1.5 stars. I like this one. I like Angry Sullivan. This is the Sullivan I want to see, not the cryptic bullshit. Like I like him just murdering Chavo. I like Tony. He always hypes that big week, right? It's Nitro in Chicago, Milwaukee Clash, TV taping in Green Bay, and he makes a cool note. He's like, now we know, like that could be Super Bowl week in Green Bay that we're there, so everyone could be really hyped while we're in Wisconsin. So I thought it was cool. Really, he's doing a good job of adding WCW to the NFL and college football, like making it seem like they're just part of all the excitement going on in sports, which I think is a cool addition. Like you just don't hear that shit right now in the WWF. Like they feel like their own world still, whereas WCW feels like they're trying to elevate themselves to that level. They have football players all over the show all the time. They're talking about, they're referencing games, and again, all the big events at the Superdome. Oh, it's Super Bowl week. We're going to be in town talking for the Packers Super Bowl. Like, I don't know. It's just cool. Like they just it's relatable dude stuff,
Mhm.
like, oh, that's a cool week. I might travel out for that. And, like, it's something you do now, maybe. Like, I don't know if it was as big of a thing back then with the destination stuff, but like, like, oh, actually, that'd be kind of cool to be out there for that week and
Right.
whatever. They're doing a good job of making themselves at that level.
Replay from Piper last week getting stretchered out. A lot of speculation on what he said. Yeah, they played for him to join WCW. Alex Wright, who we hadn't seen in a while on Nitro, he faces Eddie Guerrero. Handshake sportsmanship to start out. Eddie versus Six for the ladder match gets hyped up from Sold Out. Good action in this match. I thought Eddie kind of went through his progressions, but he hit some high spots and then kind of grounded things in and kept enough things varied. Unfortunately, crowd wasn't really into this one. Alex Wright gains the advantage. And again, I thought it was very in offense. Like it's a very map based, like we're two good guys having a good classic match. Like this felt right at home on a Jim Crockett Promotions Mid Atlantic Championship Wrestling broadcast from 1983 with Bob Caudle announcing. But I enjoyed it for what it was. Six does come out. He's wearing the U.S. Championship. He has a huge ladder and sits on top of it in the rampway. And then we go to the finish where after a little bit of back and forth, Eddie's able to hit a superplex and a frog splash to get the win. He races down towards the ladder, but Six kind of hightailed it out. So again, I thought this was a technically well executed match that just didn't have very good crowd heat for one reason or another. So, but as a match, I liked it. I went 2 3/4.
This is like the first time. This is surprising me. It's like the first time all night that we get talk about Hogan and Giant. Like they really didn't touch on it at all till here, which is crazy. That's like one of the biggest stories they got going.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Bobby was good about that. He says how things are playing in a Giants' favor. Tonight says Hogan's ego has now led to the first cracks in the NWO. And they confirmed Giants going to get the title match Sold Out. And Bobby says Giants has been doing dirty work for Hogan. Hogan's been using them, and now like time's come.
Mm-hmm.
Tony talks about what we talked about last episode, where the Giants' name is still on the belt because Hogan stole it from Hog Wild.
Right.
It's shocking that Giant even joined them. He talks about Bash of the Beach 95 when Giant showed up and called out Hogan. Like, I thought they did a really nice job showing that these guys have been at odds for the better part of 2 years now. And, or a year and a half, whatever. And that it's crazy that Giant even did what he did. And now he's kind of woke up, and Hogan's going to pay.
Right.
Again, a lot of debate about Sold Out. Today says Wright just came back from a tour of Germany, so I guess that's where he's been. And then into the finish, like you said. I thought the match was disappointing. I thought it was kind of slow. I think they purposely, it's one of those ones where they probably told him, hey, slow it down and eat like 6-7 minutes up so we could talk Hogan Giant. It felt like they were just filling time versus like showing off through some of it. I thought they should have let them cook a little bit more than they did, because you can see they ramp it up at the end when they get probably the word to move. I thought Wright looked good. I thought Eddie just looked a little shaky heading to Sold Out. He wins late, but whatever. And the crowd, like you said, the crowd was in. So I went 2.5. I was hoping for more.
Okay. Lee Marshall Row report. You want to take that away?
Yeah, he's in New Orleans. He's hyped. He's hyped about the Super Bowl. He's hyped about Nitro, and he's in a floating riverboat Nitro party.
I had some questions about this. So either he has one of the first cell phones, or
a riverboat phone.
1997 felt pretty technologically advanced for what was going on, but more power.
He's on a riverboat. Maybe he had them pull off to a dock so he could use the payphone.
Oh, okay.
But he says he's going to take Bobby for some Bayou Blackened Weasel. Today giggles, and Bobby says Lee's going to be found face down on Bourbon Street for Nitro. So there you go.
Right. There it is. Amazing French Canadians versus Harlem Heat. Another feud that's not our favorite, but here we go. Tony lets us know Hogan is there tonight, still to come. Bobby asks if they've seen the Giant. Neither today or Tony has seen him, so they don't know. Brawl to start away with all four men. Nice double suplex by Harlem Heat on Jock. But they're able to, Amazing French Canadians are able to take over in the corner with an advantage. They start John at Sherry. And then I thought a real good combo was Jock has the Boston Crab here, hits the guillotine leg drop. But then Pierre grabs the flag, accidentally hits Jock with the flag by accident, and then Harlem Heat does the Heat Bomb to win the match. So, I mean, this kind of felt almost like a blow off in some ways. I don't know, which I'd like, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure it is. But as a match, I thought it was very spirited, like more than what I'd seen. It went a good length to it, 4 minutes, like it didn't overstay its welcome. So I actually went 2.5. Like I didn't mind this. I thought I was gonna hate it, but it was okay. Also, Parker and Sherry's actual interaction with each other wasn't as bad as they have been
No.
because they really like grounded matches to a halt.
Yeah, and today talks about their year-long story, which is crazy. It's been going pretty much all this time. This is a good use of the French Canadians, strong enough to control but put over the top teams. Harlem Heat sliding a bit, so maybe this turns them around. I went 2.25. That was fine.
All right. Another sold out ad recap with Sting's involvement at the end of Luger versus Giant at Starrcade. And then our main event match is Lex Luger versus Ming. Luger's very audible tonight. You know, he's a very audible wrestler, but it felt like it was turned up even a little bit tonight. Takes tight right from Ming, nice punches from Ming and whatnot. Luger gives him a barrage, but Ming kind of shrugs that off and he takes it to Luger and looks good in doing so. Shoulder breaker, pile driver looks absolutely nasty. And then Luger starts mounting his comeback. He hits the loaded forearm. Power slam by Luger. He calls for the rack and is able to get it on, but the referee gets bumped. This brings out the Barbarian for some interference. We want Sting chants come down from the ceiling. The ref recovers, sees Barbarian up in the torture rack, but is kind of disoriented, so he thinks it's, Ming, calls for the bell. A little bit of a hokey finish aside. I thought the match was pretty good, actually, making Ming look pretty vicious. And thought Luger was very sympathetic, taking a beating from him, and then his comeback was good. So I went 2.5 here too. I actually this overperformed a little bit for me.
I like Bobby saying he told Jimmy not to feed the faces of fear unless they win. That was
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Tonight hypes the return of the Steiners, so a lot about that. Their first match back together in a while. I really like the shoulder breaker by Ming and the pile
Mm-hmm.
driver following after it was really
Mm-hmm.
nasty. And the finish was good too. I mean, yeah, it's Barbarian, but it's still impressive that he's racking him. He racked Ming. So again, he continues to rack the big guys. There's some stiff offense. I thought the rack looked awesome. The super push for Luger. His energy has been contagious and great. I would actually have wanted even more out of this time wise to see more Ming's offense. Could have been fun, but I actually went 2 3/4.
Yep.
We've kind of liked them before. Back in '95, they had that couple of pay-per-view matches that we liked. So they've always had a little bit of sneaky chemistry.
I guess I'm used to Ming just kind of underperforming, but
Yeah.
this I guess is a good pairing. Our main event promo segment here. So this I thought was a pretty good shift in Hogan's presentation, where we talked about like his crew had been the Giant, Vincent, DiBiase, and Elizabeth. Usually, well, out comes the whole NWO here. They each get on the steel WCW and kind of clap Hogan along. Nash does get a little bit more of an entrance like in front of him, but Hogan's the star here. And right next to him is Bischoff. Like we're really phasing out DiBiase here.
Yeah.
So he's definitely coming on the way out because Eric's pretty much the MC for Hogan.
Yeah, Bischoff really took his spot. I mean,
Mhm.
we'll still see DiBiase around, and we know he does the announcing, it's sold out and stuff, but it feels like DiBiase was the mouthpiece, the brains, the money, and all that behind everything, and he's kind of redundant with Bischoff. So
Right. So he talks about Hogan beat Piper twice in 1 week and also single handedly beat the Giant. Hogan lets us know he had a big meeting with the outsiders at Venice Beach. Any of them could single handedly have an NWO battle royale and destroy all of WCW. It was really easy to punk Piper and that no good stinky Giant. So back to his whole nicknames for the Giant, which I is annoying, but I kind of like as a heel. Like it's
I
not
guess
bad.
he's consistent. He feels
Yeah.
that way about Giant. Why wouldn't he still?
Giant gets pissed at hearing this. He comes rushing out. Bobby, of course, bolts. Nash rushes at Giant and gets sent to the outside, and then Giant just takes out all the NWO members. And this was an awesome segment. I didn't remember like him going one by one through all the NWO members. He looked very impressive, and the crowd was hot for it. And then it culminates in Nick Patrick getting press slammed from the ring to the outside. Scott Norton was supposed to catch him, didn't really like.
Nope. He lands hard. Yeah.
Patrick took a pretty nasty bump. Hogan's now left in the ring. He cowers. Bobby calls him Thunder Lips.
Bobby had already said see ya, which we should be tracking.
Yes, Bobby see us. It's every week. Bobby says that, maybe the Giant's the man to save WCW. Giant grabs Hogan's hand and puts him right down to the mat, showing his power advantage. He signals for the choke slam, but Hogan's able to recover and get a chair, and Hogan lays him out with the chair. Well, so while this, let me rewind. Eric Bischoff gives him some really weak, forearm punches. So Giant's frustrated with him, and that's when Hogan comes in with a chair. Now, Hogan's chair shots, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're awful. These were really good. Like, he lays into him with these chair shots. Now it's a gang attack. All of NWO comes in, beats up the Giant. Giant's on the floor or on the mat, and Hogan gives him some more nasty chair shots. Hogan and Eric hug. And then I thought this was a great moment where they hold Giant up and Eric gives him a karate kick. It just, Tony's completely disgusted on commentary. And to end the show, now they want to go to the booth. So they go to the booth. They're kick out Tony and gang. They're really, hamming it up. And out comes Sting. Sting gets in the ring. He drops the bat down. He whispers something to the Giant. NWO goes on commentary saying like he's telling him he's a loser. Or he's telling
Nash says he got a Christmas card from Sting.
Right. So they're still saying like Sting's with them. He's NWO. Then Sting picks up the bat, points it to the NWO in the announce booth, and Nash says, "Hey, that's the point of approval right there. He's a little bit of a complicated guy, but he's letting them know that he's on their side," which is pretty funny. Sting then walks out. The bat's left in the ring, so they say, "Hey, Vincent, why don't you go down there and go get the bat?" And Vincent is just a complete douche going to get this bat. He charges down, struts around. As soon as he goes to get the bat and use it on the Giant's able to grab Vincent, recover, beat him up. And then all of the NWO rushes down, and basically the Giant holds them at bay with the bat to end the show. And then in a really cool WCW production moment, we get the show fading out with Sting's picture and the Giant in the ring, kind of duality thing. So a really cool ending segment again. Like, I think they've really nailed a lot of these fun ending segments, even the stuff you don't remember. And this little bridge feud between John and Hogan, I've enjoyed. I think
it's been really good.
It's very panned, and I've enjoyed it. And they made the Giant look like a beast, and the crowd's way behind him. We'll see what happens. It's sold out, but
they have that power void on WCW side. They have the power void. It's like we have Luger's heating up for whatever reason. They're not buying in fully yet. Piper's MIA. Here comes Giant.
Right. So I like this ending segment a lot.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought it was great. If he's Giant up as the next contender. We know he's going to fight it sold out now. Hogan's in some trouble. Giant, and him have had their back and forth. It's a feud that feels fresh, even though we've seen it at least on 3 pay-per-views really already, right? Halloween Havoc 95, Super Brawl, and Hog Wild. But it seems fresh again. Hogan's at more of a height of his powers than he was in August, and Giant's has real motivation, because even August it seemed like, I'm just going to prove to everyone you're not trusting me. I'll get it done. Like, he was kind of cocky young Giant, and now he's fucking pissed off Giant, which we haven't really had yet in this role. So NWO was at their douche thug best in all this. I like that they're just always overconfident to a fault. They don't care, whatever. He's with us, and if he's not, whatever, let's kick the shit out of him anyway. And Giant stands tall. He survives the attack. So everyone got some shine here, and it makes you feel that Giant's a real threat coming up as sold out. So Yeah, great segment. And kind of a Nitro.
Yeah, I mean, not their strongest, but a good closing segment here.
All right, match of the night. I had Mysterio Psychosis.
Yep,
All right, moment of the night. I had the end NWO and Giant.
yep,
All right, MVP. I went with Giant.
yep.
Okay, shots fired. I just had Bischoff when he mocked Vince with the whatever, anything can happen. Whatever he said.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Okay.
Road report. We had New Orleans.
Yep.
No Japanese music. No dropped angles. Final grade. I went 6.5 out of 10.
Mm.
A little, last week I had a 6, so I thought it was better than that. But it's still like it feels like we're back to the kind of shaky format like we talked about. Like the match times, things seem a little rushed, things seem squeezed in. We get some random stuff we don't need to see. It feels like the roster is starting to bloat even more, and now they're back to maybe not knowing how to fit some of it in. And we have more NWO stuff than we used to have. So like we'll see how they get to fitting this all in and giving some time to things as well. I think we have to cut a couple matches out of here, maybe give others some time, but we'll see. So I think that was my biggest issue, was like a couple of the matches under delivered, and then the formatics, as they say.
Yeah, this is one where 2 hours hurts it.
Yeah.
Because there was some bloat here and some angles I'm not too interested in that got too much time. So I went 6 out of 10. I thought it was a fine show. Had some high points, but even the matches, like I know I gave a few matches decent marks, but it was kind of interesting. It was an interesting Nitro. Like it wasn't awful. Some parts were disappointing. Like one segment I thought was great, but it was an interesting Nitro. I'll leave it at that. 6 out of 10.
All right, let's get to our combo awards here. It stinks that Raw underperformed, or not underperformed, but it was the usual.
They had an opportunity.
Yeah, they had a chance to really kind of maybe steal one from Nitro
Yeah.
here, being kind of down. It felt too like, I guess one thing we didn't talk about, they're really all in on the Superdome show on the 13th. And we'll see why on top of it.
Up,
so it felt like this was really a holding pattern episode. We kind of had the Starrcade fallout. Now we have like this weird in between, because we have the big show in the Superdome. We got the one in Chicago. We got sold out. We got the one in Chicago. We got the Clash.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot coming
up. Yeah.
So like the next 4 shows that we're going to hit on are big ones.
Yeah.
And this felt like, okay, or 5 shows. And this felt kind of like, all right, it's just kind of nudged in between those.
Right.
So, all right. But Nitro is still the best show. Mysterio Psychosis still the best match.
Yep.
NWO Attacks the Giant. Best moment.
Yeah, I would say that one's pretty close though, because Sid's powerbombing Pete was also very good.
Nitro commentary.
Yeah, actually good night on commentary. I'd say, like Bobby did the see ya, but otherwise he wasn't as annoying as he has been.
No, definitely not. You like Giant for MVP still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then Nitro wins the ratings.
Yeah, not as definitively though. I mean, last week they killed them 3.6 to 1.6. This week 3 to 2.1. So, 0.9 ahead, but Nitro went down 0.6 and Raw went up 0.5.
I figure coming off the night after Starrcade was going to be a little bump probably, and into the new year, people must still shit going on.
Pretty interesting spread there.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll touch on the 113 week of TV. It's the go home for the Rumble, and it's a very go home for sold out or Rumble. Yeah, go home for the Rumble.
Go home for Rumble. Yeah.
And a very big Nitro is
very
113.
Big Nitro.
So we got a lot to cover on that for sure. So sure, check out everything we have at North South Connection. Like I said, if you watch our YouTube, thank you. Subscribe, leave us a comment. Subscribe on our podcatcher apps as well. And we'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Smell the napalm. We are out.